Yes, I'm Batman.
I'm Batman. I'm Batman, Alfred.
I'm Batman.
I am Batman!
I'm Batman. I'm Batman.
Greetings, Bat Family, and welcome back to Holy BatCast, brought to you by Real Fans for Real Movies. Make sure you visit our website, holybatcast.com. It is your one-stop shop for all things Holy BatCast. But you can also find us all over the internet on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Just search for Holy BatCast, and you will find us. And if you love the show, you want to help support the show, you can do that through Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/holybatcast. And as always, big thank yous to our patrons who keep this show rolling. You guys are awesome. You're the real superheroes. And I got to give a shout out to a new one, a name that we know very well because he writes in almost every episode. Almost. It's Tom Fallows. Tom Fallows became a patron. So Tom, first of all, you've been part of the family for many years now, but thank you for joining it in just another way, taking one more step towards becoming official. Thank you so much. It really does mean a lot to us. And again, it means a lot to everybody who does it. You don't have to. We know it. But still, it really makes things a lot easier, and it means the world to us. We're part of the Real Fans Podcast Network, so you can check out all the shows that are part of the network at rf4rm.com. As always, I'm Andy DiGenova. You can follow me on Twitter or on Instagram. It's just my name, Andy DiGenova. Now, this episode is one of our little news recap episodes. So we're going to talk about all the latest around the DC universe. That includes the changes that have happened at DC Comics. That includes looking forward to Fandome, some new animated movies, lots of stuff. We're going to talk about all of that. And then we are going to review the next episode of Batman Beyond. We're just keep on trucking through that. And as always, we'll wrap up by hearing from you as we crack open the Wayne Manor mailbox. Joining me, first of all, down there in Brisbane. Yes, Brisbane, right? Not anymore?
Normally, yes, but I'm actually up in my hometown of Toowoomba, visiting my family this weekend. So, but you are right. Yes.
Okay, it's like normally Brisbane, yeah. I like Toowoomba because I like that song they did in the 90s of I get knocked down and I get up again.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's their best song, probably. That's the best thing they ever created after you, Brendan.
Well, obviously, thank you.
Well, welcome back. Thanks for calling from, is it your family's house?
Oh, actually, Jess's family's house.
Jess's family.
Yeah, we're both from Toowoomba originally, so both our families are up here. But
oh, okay.
When we come up and stay, we usually stay at Jess's parents' place just because they got a bigger house with more space. So
sweet. Yeah. Hi, Jess's family.
They're downstairs.
Okay. Well, fuck them.
Yeah, true. No, they don't listen.
They have no idea. All right, well, great. Jamie he has a packed weekend, so he is not joining us, but of course, he's always with us in spirit. Just imagine him every now and then going, I don't want to talk about that. I'm on Twitter, but I'm not on Twitter. Maybe I'll get back on in 2 years. Something like that. But we do have a special guest joining us. I mentioned, earlier we have our patrons, and I am making my way through a list of patrons who are owed a spot on the show. And, scheduling is always fun, but we made it work. And this guy, he jumped in kind of last minute, so I'm very appreciative. From New Hampshire, it is Devon Stanley. Hey, Devon.
Hey, friends. It was a crazy morning waking up to an email from the Andy DiGenova, but I'm a longtime listener. I'm honored to be here. I'm excited.
Most people get the email from Holy BatCast, but I was at work, and it was much easier to access my personal account. I'm like, oh, well, Devon's just going to have my personal email address, so don't send me any spam, Devon.
I won't. That's my spam email address. Actually, I normally don't check it. It was serendipitous.
Wow. Well, you can send me spam if it's about lonely girls looking for company in Beijing. You can send me that spam.
There are a lot around
just
here.
Don't send him nudes because that's my job.
Yes, we all have our jobs. Well, no, thanks, Devon. I'm glad you checked it. That's good. Yeah. Appreciate it. And yeah, I'm glad you were able to make this happen. So yeah, thanks for being a patron. And yeah, thank you for being our special guest on this episode.
Yeah, I like to vote with my wallet, and Holy BatCast gets my vote. 2020.
Woo! Moving on up. That's great. So, as always, because it's your first time, tell us just a little bit about yourself, your Batman fandom, what's your favorite Batman movie, all that good stuff.
All the hard-hitting questions.
Yeah.
So I'm a fair bit younger than you guys, I think. I was born in 1994, which was a blessing because I came out just in time for the beautiful movie Batman Forever. I think I was 6 months old when it came out.
6 months old, just sitting there pooping your pants watching Batman Forever.
My mom was rocking me back and forth playing Batman Forever. I feel like I owe it a lot. This is the reason that I am who I am today. But, eventually I did go back and watch every single Burton and Schumacher movie. And I probably spent, ages 4 to 10 just watching those over and over and over again, along with the animated series and stuff. And then once I hit, middle school and high school, then I started reading comics. And then my mind was just, blown. And my possibilities were opened up, So, I don't know. After that, naturally, I felt like comics are more than people give them credit for. So I took some graphic novel courses in college, and then I became a teacher. And so I taught high school for a little bit, and now I teach middle school. And I basically spend every year evangelizing comic books. I try and bring them into the class at every possible turn. I even taught a summer course on graphic novels to a college prep program. I was not able to fit a Batman one into this, but I have used DC properties in the past. I read Watchmen with my AP Lit class and stuff like that. So, I owe it all to Batman Forever, really. It's the moral of the story.
That's obviously that makes perfect sense. It shaped your little Foreman brain in 1995, and then it was over.
I then rewatched it last month, and I'm not. I don't want to offend Brendan, so I'm just going to leave it there.
Yeah,
but I did rewatch all of them last.
Look, I know it's not a good movie. You're not going to offend me.
They're different than what I remember. I remember them very fondly, but I don't know. They're still fun. They're just I don't know, not films. But my favorite Batman movie, not Batman Forever. I have to go with Batman Begins.
Yes.
It feels weird to say it because I do think The Dark Knight is the best film that stars Batman. But Batman Begins is the best Batman film. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think that is a fair assessment, and I totally get that.
Yeah, I don't know, Ben Affleck's my favorite Batman. The Dark Knight I think is the best film, but there's something about Batman Begins. I always like to point to the dock scene where he's swooping down on people and he's scooping them up, or the scene a little later where he's holding the guy and he says, "Swear to me," or even the scene at the end where he calls all the bats and they fly up the building. There's just something that really feels like Batman in these movies, as well as it's just amazing. So that's the one that I defend as my favorite.
That's a great choice. I just rewatched it last week when I was traveling. I was on a plane and I decided to watch Batman Begins, and it's still great. Spoilers, it's still awesome.
Yeah, it holds up.
So, yeah, I do feel like there's kind of a debate in Batman fandom of which one's better, Begins or Dark Knight? And I mean, the answer is they're both amazing, so it just depends on where your personal tastes lie. I prefer Begins to the Dark Knight, but I think that they're both amazing films. So,
yeah.
I can still talk for hours about Begins is the better Batman movie, but Dark Knight's probably an overall better film, but yeah, they're both awesome.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I guess that's me in a nutshell.
Great.
There you go.
Great. Well, good. I love that you are preaching the gospel of comics to our young, impressionable youth. We need it.
Oh, yeah.
Because we need people to keep buying comics. We need to keep the comic industry alive because right now it's hurting. Which brings us to our first story. So, I feel like we should start with the negative news and slowly make our way to positive news so we can end on a hopeful and positive note. So yeah, we'll start with this, is that there was word, oh gosh, when was it? Not even a week ago. Earlier this week, there were news that there was
3 days ago or something. It wasn't very long.
According to the article I'm looking at, it was August 10th. And as we're recording this, it's the 5th. So yeah, it
Oh,
was.
shit, I didn't feel like that long ago.
Yeah. So there were major layoffs at DC. At DC Comics, with DC Universe, the streaming service, and then DC Direct, I guess, was completely dissolved. So just, yeah, huge issues. I guess it was about 20% of the staff at DC were let go earlier this week, which really sucks for everybody, and it sucks on a number of levels. For me, like, having lived through this, I was at Disney when they essentially did the same thing. When I was there, is 20% gone, and I was part of that 20%, and it blows because you got your dream job and then you don't, and then you're like, well, now what do I do? And then not to mention just like, I still have bills, I still have expenses, I still have responsibilities. So being without a job, being laid off is horrible. And so first and foremost, I just feel bad for all these people who are now going through that because it just blows. And right now, the entertainment industry is hurting. And it's not just comics, it's everyone. It's movies, it's movie theaters, it's theme parks, which is the industry I work in. Entertainment has taken a huge hit because of COVID-19, and you're just seeing these cutbacks everywhere. So it's really awful for all the people who are impacted. And, we just hope that a vaccine comes out and things rebound and people want to go out and get their entertainment and things start getting better again. But for now, it's a really rough time all around. And so as it's horrible to see this happen at DC, but also it's not super surprising because, it's just a rough landscape. Especially, I can only imagine like how the local comic book shops are doing, and I think that all bundles up in it. Anyway, I don't want to focus on the doom and gloom, but this happened at DC, and again, my heart goes out to everybody who lost their jobs and are now looking at what's the next step. But then, of course, that raised other questions about, well, what does that mean? What happens next? What does it mean for DC? As big DC fans ourselves, we want our DC content, and of course, we want to, we want the people who are creating it to be taken care of, but we want to make sure that, what's going to happen with essentially our favorite thing, which is the world of the DC universe. So Jim Lee did remain as the head of DC Entertainment. So he kept his job, and he is sort of still there as they're trying to figure out what comes next. And fortunately, we waited a few days to record this because we got more information. So I feel like the layoffs then transitions into Jim Lee's update. So he did an interview. Was it with the Hollywood Reporter? It looks like it. Yeah,
it was Hollywood Reporter.
So yeah, he did do a interview with the Hollywood Reporter to help kind of clarify, what's happening and what's the future of DC look like, because a lot of rumors have come out of this. One of the first rumors I saw was DC's no longer publishing comic books. Like the comic book part of DC is over, and I never believed that, but there were fans who did.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't. I mean, the way they're distributed may change, but you can't, that's throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Yeah.
So I saw fans kind of jump to that of like, oh, well, RIP DC Comics. And I'm like, well, I don't think that's what's going to happen, and I saw people being like, well, Disney should buy DC. And I'm like, maybe not. Like, that's weird. People jumped to conclusions. Rumors started coming, and they're saying, "Oh, DC's going to stop publishing, physical comics. It's going to be all digital." Like, what does all this mean? And because of a lot of these layoffs were because of DC Universe, we've already been speculating on what's going to happen to DC Universe. And, everyone thought, oh, well, this is the final nail in the coffin. That's going to be it. So anyway, Jim Lee did help clarify a lot of this stuff, which is good. So here's some of the things that he said. He said, this week's been a really difficult time, not just for me, but for the entire organization. We've said goodbye to people who have been huge contributors and who have helped define and make DC what it is today. So rumors suggested that DC will no longer put out comics and that Lee would be demoted. And so here's what Jim Lee said. He said, "We are still in the business of publishing comics. No work is being halted." So he talked a little bit about some upcoming projects, including a new Batman miniseries written by John Ridley, who wrote 12 Years a Slave. There'll be a return of Milestone. It's a label that features underrepresented heroes and creators. And then he talks a little bit about DC Universe. So as far as publishing comics, he says, absolutely, 100%. It's still the cornerstone of everything that we do. The need for storytelling, updating the mythology is vital to what we do. The organization leans on us to share and establish the meaningful elements of the content that they need to use and incorporate for all their adaptations. When we think about reaching global audiences and we see comics and helping drive that awareness and that brand, it's very much part of our future. That said, we will be reducing the slate. It's about looking at everything and looking at the bottom 20 to 25% of the line that wasn't breaking even or was even losing money. It's about more punch for the pound, so to speak, and increasing the margins of the books that we are doing. It's about lining the books to the franchise brand content we're developing and making sure that every book we put out for a reason. So I guess we can take these one at a time. To me, that all makes sense. They're still going to publish comics, but yeah, like we also news has started coming out today as far as like which books are going to be canceled. Young Justice was one of them. I want to say Teen Titans was one of them. Maybe Suicide Squad. Like there were a few that were. Hawkman was one that they're already kind of making the decisions on, but personally, I just think, well, I mean, that makes sense if these aren't selling.
That's business.
If they're not breaking even, like, yeah, like, you know, you trim the fat as far as which books you're doing, and you do the books that people are buying, the ones that people want to buy. That's why, like, maybe don't take my word for Suicide Squad because it doesn't make sense that they would cancel that one. That's
what I was thinking with a movie coming out.
Yeah, like, so I'm trying to remember. I saw it on Twitter this morning as I was half asleep, so I definitely Young Justice was one of them, and definitely Hawkman was one of them.
Young Justice is one that I've seen getting mentioned quite a bit.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, I guess thoughts about they're still publishing comics, but yeah, they're, you know, and they've got new projects in the pipeline, but yes, they are also looking at the bottom 20 to 25% of the line. Brendan, thoughts?
They're actually cancelling Aquaman.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm just looking. This is from Bleeding Cool. From what's today's? Oh, this was dated August 13. DC Comics to cancel Aquaman with number 65 in November. Because I was just doing a quick Google to see what comics are leaving, but it seems to be kind of all over the shop trying to find a list of what's just happened in the last day or so. Anyway, look, I was very much the same as you in that I never believed that the comics would completely go away. And you and I had like a brief discussion messaging the other day when sort of the news first broke. And you said, you know, you wouldn't be surprised if it went more digital, for example. Which, again, I know I contradict myself here because I'm one of these people who, I mean, I worked in music retail for like 15 years. And the thought of music retail dying and not being a thing, well, music and physical movies, you know, with them not being a thing, breaks my heart.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't bought a physical CD unless it's a band or something that I really love that I need to have the physical for the collection. But it's been years. I mean, since I got Spotify close to 2 years ago, you know. Same with movies, unless it's a DC movie or, you know, a movie like, say, Ready or Not that I loved. Gee, you know, I don't go out and buy them. I stream them. So I'm part of the problem, but I'm also, my heart is also with those, you know, the old school media as well. And it's honestly, it's the same with comic books. Like, unless it's a trade or a special edition like the 80th anniversary Joker that we reviewed recently and things like that, I get all my comics digitally. And yes, it's a convenience thing, but it's a space thing because comics take up a lot of space.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't, you know, I mean, obviously we've been in a 1-bedroom apartment for years, but even with the move, like, I don't I don't want to have to take a bunch of like boxes and boxes and boxes of comic books. So if things did go to digital, it wouldn't impact me all that much. But again, I would feel sorry for the people who still want, like your Jamies, who still want to get the physicals, and also the people who own and run comic shops because it's their livelihood. But yeah, I couldn't believe it when people were presuming that the comics were done and dusted, because that to me was just like, I mean, but that's where the stories come from. Why would you do that? You know, that's essentially just handing Marvel a win on a platter. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that one never made sense to me. And with the DC Universe stuff, I mean, we all knew it was coming. We all did.
Well, hold on that, because he says more about that, so we'll get to that.
Okay. Yep. Cool.
I will say that unless I'm missing it, he does not address digital versus physical comics. So, we kind of have to wait to see, because here's what it said. It says, the rumor that AT&T hates comics and wants to get out of that business. Jim Lee says, I don't think they want to stop us from publishing comics. Comics serve a different purposes, and one of them is to incubate ideas and create the next great franchise. We want to continue that. Why would you stop that? Why would you want to stop creating great content that can be used across the greater enterprise? So yeah, he doesn't actually talk about physical comics versus digital comics, so I think we still have to wait to hear more.
Yeah.
But yeah, just FYI.
Do you think, not that they're going to stop it necessarily, but they're going to like change the way that they deliver it, right? I know you guys don't play video games, but Xbox right now is doing this thing called Game Pass. And it's basically like Netflix for video games. And they're kind of like basing their whole next generation launch on this Game Pass service. And so what the idea is that instead of everybody buying like the individual games that they like physically, they just subscribe to the service, and they're just locked into the service, and the games just drop directly on there. And there's actually like brand new games straight from Xbox, like the new Halo and stuff, when it comes out, are going to come to it. But it's almost like the Planet Fitness model, where like you just subscribe to pay $15 a month, and maybe you subscribe for a year, so they immediately get like $180 or whatever. And they still keep making it, but everything's just digitally right there on the service. Do you think they would turn DC Universe into something like that?
We'll talk about that. But I mean, the short answer is yes. I think it's going to be something similar to that.
Like, instead of getting rid of like making new comics, they just kind of like downplay the print side of it and just turn everything into like a digital subscription, I guess is what I'm trying to ask.
Right. Possibly. I mean, I think there is so much more focus on digital, but as far as if it will be subscription only, I don't think so. I think there will still be, like if you have it digitally, it doesn't cost any more to put it up for sale and then eventually put it on a subscription service. So they might as well try to sell it first before it ends up as part of your subscription. That's essentially what Marvel does, and that's what they do right now, is that, it goes up for sale digitally and physically, and then whatever it is, 6 months later, it'll show up on DC Universe that you can read later. So if you don't mind waiting 6 months to a year on the latest stories, you just wait and it'll pop up as part of a subscription. And again, that's what Marvel Unlimited does, and that's currently what DC Universe does. I don't see that changing. I think the question really is will you still be able to go buy your floppies if that's the way you enjoy reading comics? What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts, Devin, about like they're still in the comics business? Yes, they're going to be canceling some titles, but for now, they're not stopping the work of comics.
Yeah, I mean, I never thought that they would stop the work of comics. I mean, getting rid of the ones that aren't selling, it's a bummer, laying off people, but like it makes sense. But I don't know. I'm worried about print comics. I don't know what they're gonna do, but like they seem to be going the way, like Brendan said, like of CDs. Like I just stream everything on Apple Music, which I mean I guess goes back to kind of like my theory, I suppose, of like turning it all into streaming. But Yeah, I just moved to Brendan to a new apartment, and lugging all those books was a pain in the ass, and I really don't look forward to doing it again. Having 1,000 books on my iPad is really awesome. I don't know. It's a tough one.
I've been living in that conflicted space for years now, for all the reasons that both of you just said. And so what I had been doing is, when I was in the States, I would balance it out. There were a couple books I would buy physically every month, because yes, like going into a comic book shop is an experience I don't ever want to go away. It's magical, it's comforting, it's a little portal that I love visiting, and I love supporting my local comic shop. So I loved going there and buying my physical copies, but I couldn't buy them all because, to your point, I have long boxes for days in storage now, and every time I move, I got to move them to a new place and figure out where the hell they're going to go. And I'm not mad at it because I love those comics, and there's still so much joy in flipping through them and rediscovering old ones, and so I don't ever want that to go away. But especially now that I live out here, and then especially as I was running out of space and I had to get choosier about the comics that I bought, it became a mix of physical and digital, because the digital comics, especially when they have these great sales, or now because of DC Universe, it's a way for me to stay up to date, or to continue reading all this great content in a way that doesn't take up space. And to your point, Devon, is like, yeah, I have thousands of books on my iPad, so when I travel light, and it's really easy and it's really convenient, and I love it that way. So yeah, like, I understand the appeal of digital. I've been an advocate for it for all those reasons, but I still would never want to say goodbye to physical, because there's pleasure there too. So I hope they don't go all digital. I would understand it from a business standpoint as to why they would, but I hope they don't, for the sake of the comic book retailer industry, and selfishly, so I can still go to comic book shops when I want.
What could be cool is if they made the print ones, like they printed less of them, but they made them nicer and more expensive, so the people like us who want to pay for like the premium type of graphic novel experience could still get it, and they'd still make money because it's more expensive. Mm-hmm. Something like that.
Yeah.
I'm not a business major.
I know. Well, I'll tell you, even like when I was back in the States during the whole COVID thing, when I got stuck back in Florida, like, I was still ordering some physical books. Like I ordered, the Robin special. I ordered the hardcover version of the Batman 89 adaptation, because that was one, like, yeah, I still bought it digitally, but I'm like, there for that, because the whole point of it is to have like a really nice premium version of that book. Like, I was like, it's just not the same digitally. Like that one, like, I want the hardcover, I want the really pretty version that goes on the shelf. So like, I was still buying stuff like that, and I still want that option.
That one day of release while I was in Hawaii late last year. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's great. So I hope that's still the case, but again, he doesn't really shed any light on that here. It's something maybe they will talk about in Fandome, but we'll see. Anyway,
just quickly, while you guys were chatting, I did find an article from a couple of hours ago, because they've released November solicitations, and it revealed that Teen Titans, Young Justice, You Were Right About Suicide Squad, Hawkman, John Constantine, Hellblazer are all ending in November, with a cryptic message about Aquaman that makes the title's fate questionable.
Okay. Well, there you go. I almost remembered them all. Interesting. Yeah. Okay, I mean, if they're not selling, they're not selling, which sucks, but... Okay, so he does mention that, yes, his job is the same. He says I have more responsibilities and expectations than ever before, and he's working with all the different divisions of the company, et cetera, et cetera. You can look this up if you want on Hollywood Reporter. They asked about the layoffs and reorganization, about planned comics, and he said there's no pencils down notice. Everyone's been notified to keep working on the projects that are greenlit and started. To that extent, there is no change. So I think that the stuff that's happening continues happening, but it was the stuff that maybe that was on the bubble, or the stuff that was planned. Like they might be cutting back, like that kind of stuff. He didn't say that directly, but reading between the lines, that's kind of what I'm getting from it. But DC Universe. So here's what he says about DC Universe, because they did straight up ask him. He said the original content that is on DC Universe is migrating to HBO Max. This is not a surprise. We all knew this, right? That's been very obvious. He said, truthfully, that's the best platform for the content. The amount of content that you get, not just DC, but generally from Warner Media, is huge, and it's the best value proposition, if I'm allowed to use that marketing term. We feel that that is the place for that. But in regards to the community and experience the DCU created and all the backlist content, like 20 to 25,000 different titles, and the way it's connected with fans 24/7, there's always going to be a need for that. So we're excited to transform it, and we'll have more news on what that will look like. It's definitely not going away. So I think this makes a lot of sense too. Again, it's not a surprise, especially because we are seeing the original content moving to HBO Max or the CW in the case of Stargirl. They want the most amount of eyeballs on the stuff they're producing, and so you're going to get that with HBO Max versus DC Universe. It's just a bigger pot of people with HBO Max, so that makes sense. The fact he says it's not going away, I do think that leads us to what we all assumed, which is, yes, it will still be the comic reading hub.
Make it available worldwide. Christ. If it's not original content now, just take the chains off. Let everyone access it.
I agree. But
Please.
There is still one big question mark, and that big question mark is, what about old media?
That's true.
Like Batman the Animated Series, Batman Beyond that we've been watching, Batman the Brave and the Bold. Like, what about all the old material that's on there? The movies, the animated movies, like, not the original content. Again, for me, I understand why you'd move the original content to HBO Max. But as far as all the old content, like, I feel like it shouldn't be hard to just leave it on there, because I just like having it readily available through DC Universe. Like, that's not why I'm subscribing, but like, if it's already on there, like, leave it on there. But then it could be a problem with going worldwide, because then you have to find out if you've got streaming rights for all that old stuff.
Yeah. Which is funny though, because the majority of that stuff that you mentioned, like, it is all the old stuff. Like, is Batman 66 on DC Universe?
That is an excellent question. I don't think it is.
But I mean, the stuff, like your movies and everything, like they sort of tend to pop up on different streaming services at different times. But I've never been able to stream like Batman the Animated Series, Lois and Clark, the old Hanna-Barbera stuff. That's never been on any streaming service here in Australia. So if people have the rights to it, they ain't using it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I've never really thought about that, because, I think it's Andy who I've heard talk about how, like, different countries and different networks have different streaming rights at different times. But, like, sometimes you'll look up a show and it just isn't anywhere.
Yeah.
Who has that? Where is it? What's it doing? I've never thought about that.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, and it could be complicated.
Yeah.
But yeah, like when it's not anywhere, then yeah, that is a question. It's like, where is it? But there's also maybe I can say it. I don't know. There are also things where they will take it out of a streaming window completely for specific reasons. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
Like, let's say there's a new movie coming out and they don't want any confusion and they want all the focus on the new movie. They might remove an old movie that is similar or part of the old franchise or pre-reboot or whatever. They might just remove that from streaming and just kind of put it in the closet for 6 months, so all the focus can be on the new thing.
Like the old school Disney Vault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That happens as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, personally and selfishly, I guess, I'm kind of happy about this move. I had DC Universe and it lapsed in like March, and at the time, I don't know, I just wasn't feeling like I was getting enough for my money, so I didn't renew it. And then like a week ago, my parents got HBO Max, and now I'm leeching off of that because, that's what you got to do.
Good.
So getting all of that stuff on HBO Max is nice. Like, I can watch season 2 of Doom Patrol now. Excited about that. And Stargirl, I watched the first couple episodes on the CW app, but their ads are so annoying and are so constant. I had to stop. And I really hope that comes to HBO Max because I'd love to watch the rest of it. I really liked what I saw.
Yeah. Yeah, I get all that. And yeah, I just hope, like just leave DC Universe as it is. Like, don't pour any more money into it. Use the originals, put them on HBO Max, but put them all on HBO Max because I don't want to say goodbye to any of those originals. But leave DC Universe, and again, for me, leave all the videos, because, again, I like being able to go, I'm going to watch Batman the Animated Series, and just pull up DC Universe, or Batman Beyond, or whatever it is. But we'll have to see what that looks like. But again, that could help shackle it going internationally, so if the way to go international is to do just comics, then so be it. But I'll tell you, I've been reading so many comics on DC Universe over the past couple months, that it more than makes up for whatever I'm paying $6 a month or something. So, like, it's, for me, totally worth it. Like, I've gone back and read stuff that I'd never even heard of before, and it's been really fun. Like, it's been fun just reading comics for pleasure and not for homework, like for the show, and just reading them. And so, yeah, I hope it, I hope it remains. And it's still a great deal if you read comics. And as long as they keep that holiday Yule log on there, then it's 100% worth it. All right, so this last thing that Jim Lee says, because they asked him, where do you see DC in 2 years? I think this is helpful. He says, you'll definitely see more international content. And then he said, so that in Brisbane will stop bitching. So I don't know what that means or who he's talking about, but I don't know.
That could be anyone.
It could be anyone, but
There's everyone down there, right?
We do say that word a lot.
I didn't mean to offend an entire country.
Oh, God, no.
He says you're going to see more digital content. When you talk about growing our business, both physical and digital, to me, the opportunities are global. So, okay, there he says physical. He says that's what we'll be focusing on. Sometimes that takes the form of content that we take here and translate and sell in other marketplaces, but we want to partner with creatives in various territories and unlock stories that feel authentic to their marketplaces with characters they can embrace as their own, and look for opportunities to take those characters and seed them throughout our mythology. With digital, that's more of a windowing issue, meaning we'll go out there with digital content, and the stuff that performs well in digital also performs well in print. A good example is Injustice, the digital comics that tied into the video game. When it came out, it was the best-selling digital comic of the year. It outsold Batman and brought a lot of adjacent fans into our business. And when we took that content and reprinted it in physical form, we sold hundreds of thousands of units. It was as big a hit in digital or in physical as it was in digital. We're using that as a model as we go out and do more digital content. We'll take the most successful books and repackage it as physical books. I think there is definitely business to be had in physical periodicals. But that said, I think there's greater upside in digital because we can go to a more global audience and the barrier to entry, especially in the pandemic, is lower. It's a lot easier to get digital content into the hands of consumers that want to read stories. We want to lean into that and think thoughtfully about digital content and what it should look like and the format. So, okay, so there's... I didn't get that far before we started recording, but yeah, so that's interesting. That's kind of like... It's a little confusing because I feel like he's kind of talking out of both sides of his mouth.
That region-specific sort of thing, does that mean I'll see a shitload of Captain Boomerang stuff down here?
Yep, he's going to get his own movie, he's going to get his own video game, he's going to get his own animated series, his own breakfast cereal. All Captain Boomerang all the time.
Boomerang bits?
Oh, I'd buy it. So yes, it sounds like there will be differences in how much is digital and how much is physical. Physical's not going away, but it does sound like it is being reduced.
Which again, to me, it makes sense. And I understand, like I said before, like your people like Jamie and the people who still only rely on physical media, I do understand. But like you said before, like if stuff's not selling, and in this time too, like even without the pandemic, take that off the table for a moment. Like, you still need to make business decisions. These things still need to run as businesses, and if something's not working and not selling in it, or it's losing money or not breaking it, you have to do it. Unfortunately.
Yeah. Yep, I get that. Devon, thoughts?
I don't know if I have much more to add, but I do think that I don't know. We got to watch out for print media. I feel like we need to like double down on going to comic book shops because I am a little bit nervous. Though, I mean, they could make some comics digital only because it's, I assume, cheaper to put it on a digital storefront, especially if they have, one of their own. I guess DC Universe isn't really a digital storefront, but you could save money that way by not actually printing it. So those ones that are struggling might get prolonged life, if you will, by putting them digital only. That's possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we'll see how it goes, but I mean, yeah, I agree with you. I hope that physical does not go away, and so yeah, that's just on us as fans to support that physical marketplace to make sure it remains profitable. All right, well, there you go. A little bit of clarity thanks to Jim Lee, and I do wonder, what news will come out of Fandome around this. Another piece of not fun news, but I feel like we should acknowledge it before moving forward, is that Ray Fisher is back. And yeah, a couple days ago, he's like, it's funny, I got up and got ready for work, and with what I'm doing is I have to take a bus to work in the morning. And I'm on the bus, and I message Brendan, and I'm like, hey, Brendan and Jamie, and I'm like, hey guys, like, what are we thinking for a show this weekend? And Brendan's like, well, there's some news. We can talk about some news. And he goes, we can talk about the Ray Fisher thing if you want to. And I was like, what Ray Fisher thing? And he goes, oh man, you haven't opened Twitter yet, have you? And I was like, no. And he's like, yeah, you should check. Because in the morning, like, I don't open my phone until I get to the bus, really, like, because I'm not a morning person. It takes all of my focus just to get moving and get ready. And so, yep, Ray Fisher's back, and he is doubling down on calling people out as far as Justice League goes. And so, yep, he went after Joss Whedon, and then he kind of passively aggressively went after Geoff Johns and John Berg. And then, for whatever reason, he decided this week was the week he was not going to passively aggressively go after Geoff Johns, but he's just going to go after Geoff Johns aggressively. So here's what he said. He said, during the LA reshoots for Justice League, Geoff Johns summoned me to his office to belittle and admonish my and my agent's attempts to take grievances up the proper chain of command. He then made a thinly veiled threat to my career. This behavior cannot continue. And then he did A greater than E, which is accountability greater than entertainment. Fun. Oh my God. I just love being a DC fan. It's so fun. Like
it's like I said to you yesterday, like, with the news that broke with, the layoffs and stuff like that, and then the Ray Fisher thing, it's like the universe knows that Fandome is just shy of a week away, and it's probably the most universally thing that DC fans have had to be excited about, in quite a while. And the universe has just gone, not so fast, and taken a giant dump on everything to just be like, oh man, come on.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I remember like a couple months ago when they announced the Snyder Cut, and we talked about it, and I was like, you know what, this is great. Like, justice will be done. We'll see the version that Zack wanted to make, and that's great. And that way we'll finally see his version. We'll get closure, and we'll be able to move forward and focus on the positive. And the universe said, ha! And the internet says, we're never moving forward. We are going to continue fighting about this until the end of time. So, Brendan, I'm going to let you go first. F you. You go first.
You're letting me fall on the grenade. Hey?
You jump on the grenade. I'm tired of this.
I'll preface what I'm about to say by first saying I don't want to cause any offense to anyone. And I don't... If Ray Fish is saying it, like, the guy's got nothing to lose, so he has no reason to lie. But at the same time, and it's similar to what we discussed, I think it was when the Joss Whedon stuff came out, actually. these people were tasked with a job of essentially remaking a movie in a couple of weeks. I can only assume there would have been enormous pressure from the top, and shit does roll downhill. So I can only imagine the amount of pressure that Johns and Whedon, it doesn't excuse the behavior, but I can probably see why it happened. I mean, we all have bad days at work, and we all lose our temper, and we all snap at someone, we shouldn't have, whether we take our anger home and, we snap at the person we live with, or we lose our temper at a manager, or heaven forbid you might lose your temper at a customer if you're in that sort of industry. It happens.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it's right, but it happens. So, I mean, everything that I've not that I've ever dealt with the guy personally, obviously, but anything that I've ever seen or heard of Geoff Johns in interviews and things like that, and he seems like a nice guy. People can obviously put on airs and graces and things like that, but I don't know. It just seems to me that Ray has every right to feel the way that he does, and he has every right to vocalize what happened if he thinks that's the right thing to do. That's freedom of speech. I have no problem with that. But people who are sort of wanting to instantly jump and crucify Geoff Johns and stuff, like, you kind of need to look at the bigger picture, I think, and just put yourself in their shoes for a couple of moments and think about the monumental task they've been given. This multi-million-dollar, essentially make-or-break movie that they had to remake with no notice and no real time. And, yeah, the stress would have been palpable. I will also say I do find it funny that I saw a lot of people backing Fisher, but at the same time this week, they're the same people absolutely raving about Stargirl, which I'm kind of like, that's kind of Geoff Johns' baby. So, you're kind of having your cake and eating it too there, but yeah, it's kind of the world we live in with fandom, unfortunately. But that's what I think. I can see both sides to it, I think.
Okay. We'll just insert the sad Affleck meme of him just going, I agree.
Like, yeah, I don't know if that just seems... I know that might piss a lot of people off, especially big Zack Snyder fans, but yeah, I think there's a bigger story there that we may never hear, or if we do, it's probably going to be another 10 or so years, but... Yeah.
All right, Devon, anything you want to say about this?
Well, I mean, I don't know Geoff Johns personally. I don't know Ray Fisher personally, so I can't, take sides per se, but I do agree with the statement, accountability over entertainment. This is something that I probably started noticing when I was in like 6th grade, where if somebody does something that's really, I don't know, it really catches like the pop culture zeitgeist. Somebody releases a great album or is in a great movie, we kind of tend to like push their flaws under the rug. There are a lot of like really famous musicians who like have done terrible things and yet their career still flourishes, where like as like a normal guy like one of us might do that thing and be in jail. And so I do think there is a little bit of that corruption in the entertainment industry. But again, like, I don't know Geoff Johns, I don't know Ray Fisher, so I can't say that Geoff Johns is one of those people. I don't know.
All right, great. I don't want to spend too much time on it. But I mean, yeah, I feel very much like Brendan does. Maybe that's why we're friends.
This is why you made me go first.
This is Well, I don't even know where to start. I feel like Ray Fisher has the right to say what he says and to feel the way he feels. And so if this is what he says and he feels the need to publicly say it, he obviously felt like he was not treated fairly when it comes to Justice League. And he has a right to feel that way. But right now we're getting a very one-sided narrative, and we haven't even heard Geoff Johns' response. I think Geoff Johns is allowed to defend himself. I think there are two sides to every story. I think that for me, it is very easy to imagine a conversation between the two of them where I could see that Ray's takeaway is what he said, but at the same time understand where Geoff Johns was coming from as far as just trying to get this damn nightmare over with and made and finished. I can see how that could happen. So again, it's a very one-sided thing right now. And I'm not saying Ray Fisher is lying, but I'm also saying I'm not going to jump to F Geoff Johns because I so badly want to believe that he is a bad guy, which is, I think, is what a lot of fans are doing, is like this is the narrative they wanted to hear. And so they are excited to hear it, and they couldn't wait to string him up. And I'm not there. I'm not that guy. And to Brendan's point, imagine you being judged on your worst day at work. Because Lord knows we've all had them. And the whole Justice League situation was a complete and utter shit show. And I've said it before, but God, like, how freaking depressing is it that the very first Justice League movie that we dreamt of seeing our whole life became such a nightmare for everyone involved, including Geoff Johns, but including the cast and Zack Snyder, everyone involved in this thing. It became just a complete nightmare for all of them. And they all just wanted to freaking get it done by the time it was over with. So, yeah, until we know what really happened, until we get some sort of additional information, like, I sympathize with Ray Fisher, and I'm like, I'm really sorry that his first big budget movie was this experience, because that sucks. And he didn't deserve that. But I also, we weren't in the room where it happened. We don't know how that conversation went, and we don't know what was said that had Ray Fisher walking out saying, I was belittled and I was threatened. If Geoff Johns really said, you need to shut your mouth, you need to do what you're told, or I'll end you. Yeah, you know what? I'm with you then. Like, that's some bullshit. That doesn't happen. We don't know that that's how it went down. And so I'm not going to assume that I did know how it went down, because we all know what a mess this production was. And so that's kind of where I stand. My point is there are two sides. I'm not saying Ray Fisher's lying, but I'm also saying Geoff Johns deserves a chance to defend himself.
Yeah.
And that's that. So fun times. I can't wait to wake up tomorrow to see who Ray Fisher wants to go after next. That'll be fun. We'll do an episode. I'll look forward to it. It's great, because this is why I do this. This is why. I do this Batman show so I can talk about on-set spats between famous people instead of the content that I love.
An hour into this podcast, and I'm already exhausted.
Yeah.
I'm never coming back. Okay,
I'm sorry. We've ruined you. Oh man, like there's this, like, did you ever see the movies, or not the movie, excuse me, there was a show called Sports Night that was on in the late 90s. It was like the very first Aaron Sorkin show. It's amazing, by the way. You should watch it. It's so good. But the very first episode, it's about these two anchors. They do the sports show, and it's funny. It's one of my favorite shows of all time. Y'all know I'm not a sports fan, but you don't have to be. It's just a great show. But the very first episode is about one of the anchors wanting to quit his job as a sports anchor, and they're like, "Why?" And he's like, "Because I got into this because I love sports, and now sports news is about the inappropriate things that the players do, and domestic abuse and gambling, and it's about all of this stuff. Like, this is sports now?" And that's how I feel about Batman in comic book media. Is I'm like, I got into this, and the reason I love talking about it is because I love the characters, I love the world, I love getting new media to be excited about, stories to get excited about, movies to watch and dissect. Like, that's why I got into this. I didn't get into this to talk about, like, pitting these people against each other and taking sides and fighting with other fans about people's personal lives. Like, that's not comics to me. That's not what I want to talk about. That's not why I do this. So it's like, I can't ignore it, but at the same time, it's like, that's not what this show is for. Like throwing people under the bus to try and prop up the other people. Like, that's no fun for me.
Yeah, it's a great analogy. And it does sometimes feel like there's more drama than actual content. Yeah,
exactly. Like, I don't want to talk about the drama. I mean, again, I don't want to empower people who are acting inappropriately. I don't want to do that either. But, like, I want to talk about Batman. Like, I don't want to talk about an on-set fight between an actor and a producer. So, anyway. Speaking of new content, though, there is new content. Why don't we move forward?
Yay.
Fun stuff. Let's talk fun stuff.
On that note, speaking of new content, one of the things that I think you said on the last episode, Brendan, was like, you're like, oh, I want to hear about the new DC animated slate. Usually that's something that we get at Comic-Con.
Yeah, Fandome wishes.
Yeah. And we've gotten some of that. Like, first of all, we haven't really talked about it in depth, but we knew it was coming. It was already announced, but we finally got like a trailer and some additional information about the animated version of A Death in the Family. Mm-hmm. And so... it's a short. It's not a full-length feature. So it's DC Showcase, Batman, Death in the Family. Excuse me. But I don't know how long it is. It doesn't say. But this will be interactive. So you will be able to choose. It's like a choose-your-own-adventure story of Death in the Family. We did find out it is in continuity with Under the Red Hood, which is actually really cool.
Yes, that makes me very happy. 10 years, that movie. Like,
wow.
It was last month, I think. Man, I can't believe that's, yeah.
Bruce Greenwood is back as Batman. John DiMaggio is back as Joker. I know a lot of fans are excited about that because so many, like, it's so funny. I hear so many fans who are like, man, John DiMaggio was great as Joker. It's too bad we didn't get more of that. Well, wait 10 years and and you'll get it. There's also Zara Fazal is going to be Talia al Ghul, and Gary Cole will be Two-Face and Commissioner Gordon. So they're adding some new ones. But it isn't a straightforward prequel. It will be branching. You will make choices. And there will be some interesting twists on the story, including that it seems that Jason Todd will take up the mantle, depending on what you choose, of Red Robin. And so this is coming out in the fall, and again, it will be very interesting to see, like, what, how long it is actually, because it was pitched to us as a short, but with the branching, like, I do wonder how long it's going to be. Is it going to be more like the Shazam Black Adam one, where it's closer to a half an hour, as opposed to usually they're like 10 minutes. So anyway, this one comes out digitally. Only in a few weeks. Oh, no, wait, that's Man of Tomorrow. Sorry, Man of Tomorrow comes out in a few weeks. This one comes out in the fall. So, yeah, thoughts on the animated Death in the Family, Brendan?
I'm curious to know how it's going to work. Like, particularly digitally, like, if you're streaming it. Like, yeah, unless sort of you get to a certain point and then it's like selecting another episode, essentially. Like, if you want to do this, click on this one, or... You know what I mean? Like, I just don't know how it's going to look.
Well, this isn't the first movie to do it. I mean, it's the first DC movie to do it, but Netflix, Black Mirror did it like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bandersnatch. Yeah.
Yeah, which, like, the problem with these sorts of things in movies is that video games have been doing them for as long as video games have been around. And, like, at least with Bandersnatch, like, it didn't really work for me. I feel like they didn't learn some of the lessons that video games had. So I'm curious to see how well they do this one. But I mean, like, I assume it will be something like that, Brendan, for streaming.
Okay.
It seemed to work pretty smoothly with Bandersnatch.
Yeah, I think that the system worked. I was disappointed with Bandersnatch because no matter what I picked, it kept trying to make me pick what it wanted me to pick. And I was like, well, then what's the point?
And some people will be like, well, the point was that there is no real free will, and it's like, yeah, but that's not why I wanted to.
Exactly. Yes. Thematically, I get it, because that was the whole point of the movie. Was like at the end, they basically are like, free will is an illusion, and we just give you the illusion of choice. And I'm like, yeah, cute, clever, I get it, but you promised me a choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want to kill my dad. Stop trying to make me kill my dad. I don't want to kill him.
And that's the thing. Like I mean, listeners and you guys, like, you know how much I love Under the Red Hood. It's my number one DC animated movie, even after all this time, and the amount that they crank out. So the fact that they're prequelizing it, that is amazing. Like that has me really excited. I honestly couldn't give a shit about the choose your own adventure stuff. Like I'm just fully excited because it's taking me back to that world that I love.
Yeah, I mean, and I said what's sad is I'm not going to see half of the animation because I will never choose to let Jason Todd live.
True.
But no, I agree with you. I think that like the animated prequel part, I was always excited about, and I love that it is in continuity. So yeah, I was already excited about that. I think that the interactive element is really fun. It's really clever, and it could certainly enhance it, and it might make me like it even more, but it also could be one of those things like Bandersnatch where I was like, okay, cute idea, but I don't think it really paid off. But yeah, so it'll be interesting. I don't love that he becomes Red Robin. Like, just I don't believe in the further erasure of Tim Drake, and this is just another step in that direction. Like, why you do that? Why you gotta do that?
It annoys me.
Yeah. But I'm excited to see it. Like it'll be fun. It'll be really interesting to see how it goes and how long it is and how much these choices really matter and all that good stuff. But I guess what I was saying is I respect the ambition of doing something really new with it. Yeah?
Yep, agreed.
All right.
Yeah, I respect the ambition. It all depends on the execution. Could be really, really bad. Could be really good. I mean, I watch movies to have people tell me stories. I don't necessarily want to write the story myself as I go.
Yeah.
But if they make it work, then it's probably going to be killer.
Great. I mean, it's a great nod to the old, call if Robin survives, call if Robin dies. Like, it's fun, so I think it's cool. Good for them. Another animated movie that we just found out about a couple of days ago. It's another Batman animated movie, but it's interesting. It is it's set in the 70s, so it feels like it's very much its own thing, kind of like an Elseworlds, like Batman in the 70s, and it seems to be leaning into like the 70s kind of cheesy like blaxploitation vibe, those movies.
Yeah, like your kung fu stuff, very
yeah.
much.
So like the 70s kung fu movies, but also like the 70s like Shaft movies and stuff like that. So this one is called Batman: Soul of the Dragon. It is an original story. It's not based on anything, which is always fun. And so Bruce Wayne faces a deadly menace from his past with 3 former classmates: world-renowned martial artist Richard Dragon, Ben Turner, and Lady Shiva. So Ben Turner is Bronze Tiger. Lady Shiva is, Lady Shiva. And I don't know Richard Dragon, but he just looks like an animated Bruce Lee.
Yeah. When I first saw the picture, like I just was, scrolling through Twitter or whatever, I swear I thought this was like a Luke Cage Batman crossover. I had to do a double take.
Yeah, Bronze Tiger definitely looks like Luke Cage. I hope he gets the Bronze Tiger getup because, right now he's in a yellow tank top with big old bracelets. Yeah, he looks like Luke Cage.
If we're talking aesthetic, there's one part you'll be happy about.
I know. He's in the blue and gray with the yellow oval bat symbol.
Yellow oval.
Yeah.
Andy's going to love it.
I like that. This is interesting. It's got the voice cast, David Giuntoli as Batman. I don't know him. Mark Dacascos as Richard Dragon. Mark Dacascos is like a world-renowned martial artist himself. I feel like his big thing was Only the Strong. But he was in John Wick 3 most recently, and I didn't even recognize him until I saw the credits. But yeah, he's like this great martial artist who's been doing it forever. Kelly Hu as Lady Shiva, and Michael Jai White as Ben Turner / Bronze Tiger. Bruce Timm is executive producing, and then Sam Liu, who did Reign of the Supermen and The Killing Joke, is directing and producing. This one is due out early 2021. So yeah, thoughts on this interesting 1970s Batman movie, Brendan?
I'm in. I mean, it's not something I would have thought of, or particularly I've never asked for it, but it's a new original animated Batman movie, so bet your ass I'm gonna look forward to it and watch it as soon as I can. It's just gonna add to the pantheon of DC animated movies, and I'm glad that we're gonna, hopefully this is what we're gonna start getting now, like your Man of Tomorrows and this, what is it, Rise of the Dragon? Is that what it's called?
Soul of the Dragon.
Soul of the Dragon, yeah.
Like, because I was one of the people that was kind of happy to see the continuity stuff end, because I preferred the more one and done stuff. So yeah, if this is what they're going to start doing now, and changing up the look and times and things like that of the stories for the animated ones, I'm totally down.
Yeah, I agree. I love when they do, I don't know, just like kind of like out of the box weird takes. Like they did, what was it, Batman Ninja or something? I don't know. There's so much that you can play with in like an IP. And we have so many traditional Batman movies and Batman novels that, like, I'm totally down with, like, all right, let's do one in the 70s. Let's do an anime style one. I know my dad would, have a heart attack if I told him that, because he's such like a comics purist. And he raised me, but I like when people try different things, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Like, I would, like Brendan said, I would never have thought of it myself or even pitched it. It's kind of weird, but at the same time, I'm like, hey, why not? Why the hell not? Like, do something different, it'll give it its own personality. It'll be its own thing. I like the idea of featuring some other characters, but using Batman for that. I just hope that it's, that it's set somewhat in Batman's world, like, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Like, it's not something that is necessarily in my wheelhouse, but it's Batman, it's animated, I'll check it out, and hopefully it'll be a nice surprise. It's just a very interesting choice, I think. All right, cool. You mentioned, well, we'll see more about that when it comes out. You mentioned quickly, we were talking earlier about the DC Universe Originals, and so, yeah, like, we just wrapped up on Stargirl Season 1, we just wrapped up on Doom Patrol Season 2, so I thought it was worth mentioning that. That's news, is that, yeah, those seasons have wrapped up, and I think you pointed out, Brendan, in one of our chats, that you're like, we're not getting any new content on DC Universe right now. And I'm like, yeah, like, that is true, and that's a bummer.
Yeah, there's nothing.
I will say, yeah, I'm sad, because every week I was looking forward to the new episode of Stargirl and Doom Patrol, because I don't know about you guys, I love them both. I thought Stargirl is the show that I had so little expectation for, that really came out of nowhere and blew me away. And I thought season 1 was just impeccable, and I thought that it ended so strongly. Honestly, it feels like a Stargirl movie that just happened to be spread out amongst, what was it? Was it 13 episodes?
I think it was 13, yeah.
Yeah, like, because the narrative is so well structured, and the way it all pays off in the end, and like, honestly, the way it all wraps up in the end is very appropriate to the way it starts. Like, I don't know, the storytelling in the first season of Stargirl was really awesome. The characters, the way they were introduced, the way they evolved, the arcs, it was great. And so, yeah, like, kudos. That was such a terrific first season of superhero TV. And then, yeah, Doom Patrol Season 2, I feel like I loved it, but I also feel like it wasn't a full season. It feels like they're like, oh, we can't finish 4 more episodes, and so we have to end it here, so I guess we're just ending on this cliffhanger. So I loved it. I just felt like it was cut short, and so I'm like, well, I sure hope to hell they're getting another season, because it's not complete. Like, season 1 ended on a note where you're like, well, if that's it, that can be it, like, that's okay. But season 2 ends on a cliffhanger, which I don't think is spoilery to say. So I just feel like, yeah, they needed the extra episodes for it to really feel like a full season, but what we did get, I thought, was really awesome. So, Brendan, what do you think?
I totally agree with what you said about Stargirl. If you want to talk about a story going full circle, well, it certainly goes full circle in the story that it tells. I'll just leave that there. But I thought it was great. I know, like, Jess loved it because she read a lot of the JSA stuff years before I met her, and Stargirl was her favorite. So she loves it, every minute of it. Another one of my a good female friend of mine, Maddie, she adored it as well. So it seemed to do really well with the girls that I know who consume this stuff. It was really, really fun. It was a great show. It felt very DC Universe though, in terms of its quality and production. So I do wonder how that may differ when it moves over to the CW. Concerns me a little bit, not hugely, but because I mean, in terms of the DC Universe shows, it was more CW-ish. I say in inverted commas, but you know what I mean. Like it did feel very cinematic in parts and in ways that the CW shows don't. And that's not a criticism to them either. It's just the different networks and budgets and stuff that you got to work with. I get it. So I would hate to see it lose that aspect going to the CW. But no, solid first season of superhero television. It was fantastic. And I mean, yes, they tease stuff, but similar to the first season of Doom Patrol, if there wasn't going to be any more, I want to see more, but if there wasn't going to be any more, I'd be okay. It ends on that kind of note. So I loved it. I thought it was really, really cool. Doom Patrol, honestly, I don't know if this might I might lose some friends in saying this. I didn't dislike it, but I didn't like it as much as the first season. I don't know. The first season to me felt funnier. Like there was more humor in it. This one, and I mean, look, they embraced the weird from the get-go. With some of the stuff in that first season, but I don't know, this one to me, it just seemed, overall it seemed like a much darker season. And I mean, storytelling wise, they were, I think, sort of telling darker stories, but to me it was weird in a way that I was like, hang on, what's going on? As opposed to kind of laughing and going, man, this is so weird. And I hadn't really thought about it, but you're right, it didn't feel like a complete season the way that it ended. So I have to agree with you on that one. But I still watched it. I still looked forward to it. And I certainly didn't dislike it by any stretch. I just didn't have as much fun with it as I did season one.
I get what you're saying. Like I loved it. But yeah, I mean, I think I loved season one more. And again, right now I feel like that's more about season one was complete and was able to wrap up in a way, and this one, again, it felt like 2/3 of a season.
I think,
but I do think that you're.
Too.
What was that?
I think Tudyk had a lot to do with it as well.
That's very true. But I also think you're right that like season 2 did go darker. Like it was like, because season 1, really created and defined the world. I feel like season 2 they really started messing with the world. Like the way Crazy Jane, they really mixed up her status quo and changed a lot about what was going on with her. And, they weren't afraid to push the characters out of the status quo. And I don't know. So I get your point and I don't disagree with it. I still loved it every time a new episode would pop up though. So, but yeah, the first one was a little just more fun, for lack of a better term, and the second season was just a lot darker Devin, what do you think?
Well, like I said, my DC Universe subscription lapsed, so I actually haven't watched the second season of Doom Patrol. I love the first one though. And Stargirl, I started watching, like I said, but the CW app is really cumbersome. So I don't think Jim Lee said when things were moving to HBO Max, but I'm really excited to finish Stargirl whenever it does. Because I assume it's not just new original content. It's the original content that they already produced is coming to HBO Max. That's how I interpreted it, at least. So, looking forward to it.
Yeah, I hope you get to catch up with it soon. I will say they're both worth your time, so enjoy those. They're really good. All right, and then we have something to look forward to in about a week. Is it a week? Yeah, it's a week. Fandome.
Yeah, shy of a week.
Fandome is coming. And so, yeah. What was that?
Nothing.
I knew you were gonna say something.
I'm excited about Fandome. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah. I'm shocked that you made it dirty. Well, not that shocked.
No.
I mean, first of all, before we get to the schedule, I got to agree. Like there was this thing that Fandome ever since they announced it. Like God, we've been so excited about it. We know we're gonna get all these news and info, and it's gonna be awesome, and trailers, and who knows. And it was like, oh man, I love that. Comic-Con was kind of a non-story this year, which is sad. But I think this is a big reason why is Fandome was sort of took that excitement from what is usually Comic-Con every year, and so we've just been looking forward to it ever since they announced it. And I know as a DC fan, for me, and I'm assuming for you guys, like it's so cool to see AT&T and WB investing so much money and effort into creating this fans event to really hype up DC. To me, it felt like it was a very clear statement by AT&T and WB of like, we know that DC is our premier brand. And we're going to celebrate it in a way that we never have before, and we're going all in on it. And that's what it felt like with Fandome. And I was like, that's so great. So exciting. And then you're right, over the past week with all this negative stuff with the layoffs and the restructuring of DC and then the Ray Fisher drama, like God, like it, man, like what, talk about just putting a dark cloud on what was going to be a very fun and exciting weekend. Blah. Like oh man, it's like a spoonful of arsenic with your cereal, like God, with your boomerang bits. But despite some of the bad crap that happened this week when it comes to DC, Fandome is still coming, and it is still something to be excited for. So not long before we recorded this, we did get the official schedule for Fandome, and I mean, it's pretty much everything we expected, with it seems like some surprises built in. So I have not gone in and created my personal schedule yet, but I hope to do that today in time for next week. But some of the highlights, real quick, of course, there's the Wonder Woman 1984 panels. I will also say these panels are surprisingly brief.
Yeah, that was one thing that I noticed. I'm like, 25 minutes, okay. But I guess it's because they're pre-recorded.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I kind of respect brevity. Brevity is the soul of wit. And I mean, probably because if you think about a Comic-Con panel, the last 15 minutes or so are questions from the audience. So, like you cut that out, and you can really have a more focused panel this way. But anyway, so Wonder Woman 1984, it's 25 minutes. Gal Gadot, Chris Pine, Kristen Wiig, Pedro Pascal, and Patty Jenkins, and it will include new footage from the film. I'm excited they actually said that.
Yep.
The Flash, the show, is a 40-minute panel. It includes the cast, and it features a trailer for the next season. Black Lightning, also for the show. Moderated by Robert Townsend and paying homage to black pop culture from the 90s. So, all right. Pennyworth. Hey, Brandon, that one's just for you.
I've got that in my schedule.
Did they ever announce season 2? I can't remember.
No, so I'm kind of hoping, but the way season 1 ended, there kind of needs to be a season 2, so.
Interesting. Well, maybe they'll announce it. Flash, the movie. And it's called Introducing Flash with Andy and Barbara Muschietti, Ezra Miller, and screenwriter Christina Hodson. So this one's like 10 minutes. So it's just a quick in and out of like, hey, yeah, we're moving ahead, and maybe they'll give us some info and news. Maybe they'll dial in Michael Keaton, perhaps.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much of this is just what we're promised and how much of it actually, has some sort of surprises. But yep. I did see a little bit of chatter online of like Ezra Miller is still the Flash. Personally, Personally, I have no problem with that. You know, we talked a little bit about that video. I think that video, if you take it in context, he was goofing off, and it got clumsy and out of hand, but there seemed nothing nefarious about that video. So again, the people who were like, F Ezra Miller because of that video, I'm just like, man, we're just so quick to, forgive the term, we're so quick to cancel anybody these days. But I'm happy to see that Ezra Miller is still there. The Suicide Squad with James Gunn and the cast. And it just says a trivia-based game called Squad Showdown. Interesting. I imagine we're going to get footage or a trailer, but it does not say that.
I could be wrong, but I'm sure he did a Q&A on Instagram or Twitter or something recently where someone asked if there was going to be footage, and he said yes.
Okay. That makes sense. Because they're done, you know? So that makes perfect sense. Legends of Tomorrow, the expansion of DC's Watchmen universe, a Females of Color within the DC Universe panel, Doom Patrol panel. Again, hopefully that will announce seasons 3 and or 4. I know there was a rumor going around like a week ago or so that they were going to do 3 and 4 back to back, which would be amazing. I'm all for it. Superman and Lois, the show. The Snyder Cut of Justice League, that is what it is called. It says the Snyder Cut of Justice League with Zack Snyder answering questions and a few surprise guests. Black Adam with Dwayne Johnson also answering questions along with a few surprises. Interesting. Aquaman with James Wan and Patrick Wilson discussing the 2018 blockbuster. So looks like more to look back. That's a 10-minute one too.
Yeah.
Black Adam is 15 minutes. Snyder Cut is 25 minutes. Yeah, Snyder Cut.
There's a to be announced one which has me intrigued.
We'll get there. I'm going down the list.
Okay.
A Wonder Woman 80th celebration with Gal Gadot, Patty Jenkins, and a very special guest. Gee, I wonder if it's Linda Carter. That's 5 minutes, so real quick. Shazam is another 10-minute thing. Zachary Levi. Lucifer, 20 minutes. Yeah, God, they're so quick. A 20-minute thing about the video game, Suicide Squad, and it's called Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. So that's the Rocksteady game. What an awesome title. Could I just say that? Like they're essentially making it a Suicide Squad versus Justice League game. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's 20 minutes. Titans, that's 30 minutes. Oh, that's a long one. The Batman. So that's at 5:30 p.m. It's 30 minutes with Matt Reeves and Aisha Tyler. Oh, I love her.
She's great.
Oh, God. She's a gift. She's just so awesome. Will we get footage for the Batman? We freaking better. Okay. And yeah, then an online premiere of Superman Man of Tomorrow with Darren Criss. Yeah. Stargirl. Batwoman. Yeah, so what, Stargirl is 35 minutes. Batwoman is 40 minutes. So, yep, we get to meet the new Batwoman, I guess. And then Harley Quinn, the animated series. So that's
Whoa. Andy, you missed the biggest one.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, Saturday, August 22nd, 4:30 Eastern Time, Chris Daughtry. Performance.
Oh!
Chris Daughtry. What do you missed Chris Daughtry?
I am so sorry. I've ruined everything.
Oh my God.
That you're right. So I guess I am waking up for that.
What we've all been waiting for, Chris Daughtry.
Oh, here, yeah, a performance by Chris Daughtry, waiting for Superman, and the premiere of Superman Man of Tomorrow. Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, this, to be fair, I'm looking at the highlight article from Variety as opposed to the actual schedule, so.
Oh, they don't respect Chris Daughtry, of course.
No, sorry. No love.
I'm scrolling down the actual schedule, yeah.
So random.
Yeah, and then I know that before we started recording, Brendan, you were telling me like that they have like virtual rides and stuff, or virtual exploration of Gotham City.
Yeah, so I just will mention too that this is going chronologically on the actual schedule itself. So in Hero, the Aquaman panel, there's a to be announced panel, which what are we thinking? Are we thinking that might be a movie announcement or?
Yeah, I know that I saw people post about that, and they basically said new movie ? And I've already seen some speculation as to what it could be. Could it be the New Gods? Could it be oh God, what was the other thing that I saw thrown around? Batgirl? Could it be could it be whatever movies might be, a Man of Steel thing or a Superman thing, so yes, there's some sort of like mystery panel, and now we're all trying to figure out what the heck it could be.
Yeah. But no, there is in the Funverse section, there is one that you'll like, Andy, which is just the Batcave. So you dive into the Batcave and take a look at Batman's famous Batmobiles, costumes, and gear. If you're a true detective, you might even discover the Joker escape room and find other hidden Easter eggs on demand. Oh, Easter eggs, this is an on-demand one, so this goes the whole 24 hours. It's not a set time. So yeah, the part that I was telling you about before, there's actually two parts here that I think will really take your fancy, given your career and what you do every day. The first is Amusement Mile. This is an on-demand one, so it's not set to any time. It is take a virtual ride on some of DC's theme park rides from around the world. So that's going to be interesting. I'm going to be curious to see if any from Warner Brothers Movie World near my place gets a run on that. So
can we ride together? Can we virtually ride a ride together?
Hopefully. That'd be amazing. We can hold hands and put our hands in the air and scream at the right time.
Do they have a tunnel of love?
Hopefully not a Dark Knight Returns.
Dark Knight Returns one?
Yeah. This section too also has, you can create your own Suicide Squad comic book cover. And there's also an official DC Fandome store in there, which is pretty cool. And you can also take a closer look at Wonder Woman's golden armor. But there's in the Insiderverse is one that I saw that I was like, you'll really love, which is called Creating DC Lands and Rides at Warner Brothers World Abu Dhabi. Another on-demand one. It says get a DC Insiderverse meeting with the team of designers and storytellers and hear firsthand how they brought the iconic worlds of Gotham City and Metropolis to life in the immersive and award-winning Warner Brothers World Abu Dhabi.
Excellent. Yeah. Oh, man.
Be all over that.
Yeah, hell yeah. Sweet. All right. Well, see, so much, and I am going to have to stay up in the middle of the night, and it's going to be exhausting, but it'll be worth it.
Yeah, sleep on the plane.
I guess so. Oy. All right. Well, cool. So lots of good stuff. Yeah, you can check all this stuff out at the DC Fandome website. So yeah, I guess now that we have sort of a schedule and things to look forward to, yeah, what are your top most exciting things, Brendan?
Let me just go to my schedule. Hang on. So obviously the Wonder Woman 84 panel, that's a big one for me. That's the other one I wanted to tell you as well. This was also in the, hang on, what section was it in? The Insiderverse. This has you written all over it. It's called Sleek, Sexy, and Sinister, The Costumes of Batman Returns.
Nice.
Now, I don't know if this is like from an old DVD or Blu-ray. The title doesn't sound familiar to me. I may be missing something, but it's this behind-the-scenes documentary will show you the costume of Tim Burton's 1992 film Batman Returns, the sleek, the sexy, and the sinister. So I don't know if that's one of the old DVD docos, but sounds cool.
Yeah. Well, and now, we were having technical difficulties, and I went to the actual website. There's also a panel that is a bunch of Batman voices.
Yes. Yep.
The voices behind the cowl. Like, that's, God, like, there's so much good stuff.
So for me, the movie ones, obviously the stuff that you would imagine you'd normally get in Hall H at Comic-Con. So, obviously Wonder Woman, Suicide Squad, The Batman is obviously a huge one, and as the same with the Snyder Cut for Justice League. I'm curious for the Superman and Lois panel, because I really want that show to be good, because I do quite like Tyler Hoechlin in the role. The Ask Harley Quinn panel I'm looking forward to, because we all know how much I love that show, and if I can check it out, I think it might have an encore one. I'm not too sure. I'm actually keen to watch Superman Man of Tomorrow in this sort of environment. That could be pretty cool as well. So, and there's also one showcase a panel for Death of the Family.
Oh, okay. Yeah, God. Yeah. I guess when we're done, I'm going to go through and make my schedule.
It's a 30-minute 30-minute one.
Awesome. Devon, what about you? What are some of the ones that you are looking most forward to?
After Chris Daughtry, I would say I'm really excited to see the WB Games Montreal panel. They don't specifically name the game, but so WB Montreal, if you don't know, they made the Arkham Origins game, not like the main trilogy of Arkham Asylum, City, and Night. They made the prequel Arkham Origins, and I don't think they've made anything since. But they did release like a teaser last year, and it was titled like Capture the Night or something like that. And there was some symbols on it, and everybody on the internet who's smarter than me pieced it together, and it was like, oh, this is a Court of Owls game. And I really liked the Court of Owls story. So this sounds like another Batman game, which all four of them, in my opinion, have been amazing, with a Court of Owls kind of plot. I think that sounds really fun. And then, you mentioned the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Rocksteady has made so many amazing games, and it's been 5 years since they've made anything, and they've been deathly quiet. We haven't heard. There's been no leaks, no rumors. I mean, there's always rumors, but and then they just dropped this in a tweet last week, and I was like, whoa, Suicide versus Justice League. That sounds sick. So those two I'm really excited for. And then I loved Shazam. I don't know about you guys, but I think that's my favorite DCEU movie. I've watched it a number of times, and it's just so fun. So there's a Shazam panel, and of course I'm going to tune into that. And then obviously Wonder Woman 84. All of the heavy hitters, of course, I'll be around to watch those too. But the video game ones are close to my heart, so I'm very keen on those.
I see. Yeah, I got the impression you were a gamer. That's cool. That's good. We need we need more of that on the show. So thanks for helping.
Oh yeah, whenever you guys talk about video games, it's like, oh no. You guys I don't know. I don't know. A Nintendo, as my dad would call it. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, there's so much to be excited about. Obviously, I'm excited for all the obvious things. Wonder Woman 1984 and the Batman and Zack Snyder's Justice League. Those are kind of the biggies. I think all that's great. And then, but yeah, honestly, a lot of what you were just telling me, Brendan, about the virtual environments and the theme park stuff, that, of course, hits me where I live. So I didn't even expect that. And so that's just kind of a really nice bonus that I'm excited about. So yeah, it's going to be really cool.
Yeah, I didn't even see those tabs until Brendan brought them up, and now I'm scrolling through them, and there's really cool stuff here.
Yeah, there's another one too. I think it's an on-demand that I'm really keen to check out. It's To the Batmobile, and it's essentially fans around the world who have built their own Batmobiles, and the photo that they've used to advertise it is my mate Zach in Sydney, whose Batmobile I've ridden in before. So, yeah, I'm keen to check that out too.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, there's great stuff here. If you're a DC fan, you're going to be very busy next weekend, and I am now excited but dreading the weekend, because I have to travel for work on Sunday, and I am going to be free, and this is going to all happen in the middle of the night. I'm going to be so tired, but and then because I'm traveling, we won't be able to record about it for a couple of days. We won't be able to record about it Sunday because I'll be on an airplane, so I
didn't even think of that.
Yeah. So, heads up to all the folks out there at home. It's going to be a couple days before you get the Holy BatCast recap, but you will get it. So please still download it when we do it. It's just going to be a couple days later because I got to travel for work. Why must my day job come in conflict with my fandom?
We'll discuss. We'll talk about this off air.
Yeah. So, all right, cool stuff. DC Fandome, go to the website, check out all the stuff there, make your schedule. That's what I'm going to do this afternoon, and yeah, this is going to be awesome. Anyway, I
would just point out that this for Andy, it starts at 1 a.m. and for me, it starts at 3 a.m. So,
yeah,
we're fans.
Yeah, I need to. Well, I have coffee. Just
I'm planning on essentially just tricking myself on Saturday night. I'm going to have an earlier dinner and do everything earlier than what I normally do. And just hopefully my body clock will be fooled and allow me to go to sleep earlier than what I normally do as well.
Yeah, that's true. We'll see. All right, well, fun stuff. Next week. This time next week. Fandome. It's going to be great. But guess what? We also watched the next episode of Batman Beyond. So, yeah, let's continue our journey through Batman Beyond. Now, I don't know how we're going to top the last episode, but somehow we'll figure it out. Last time we did Terry's Friend Dates a Robot, so don't miss that one. It's great. Brendan gave it an A+, which for Batman Beyond is like really, really impressive. Anyway, the next one is Eyewitness. This one was directed by Butch Lukic and story by Rich Fogel, teleplay by Hilary Bader. It aired on January 22nd of 2000. So yeah, we're still in season 2. This is season 2, episode 11. Anyway, what's this episode? Terry goes out there and he's stopping some crime, and we find out that, he screwed up a police sting operation. So there was like an undercover cop, and Terry didn't realize it, so he screwed up their operation, and Commissioner Barbara Gordon is very upset about it because he means well, but he's, can be a pain, and he's got a lot to learn, and so she goes and meets with Bruce, and Bruce basically is like, yeah, I know he's a good kid, though, he's learning, he's got a lot to learn, and Barbara's like, yeah, you need to, keep a tighter leash on him because he messed this thing up. And so then cut to like the next day or two, and they're having a big fundraiser for Barbara's husband, who's the DA, and it's like the next big DA, the election is coming up. And so this is crashed by, what was his name, Mad Stan?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, Mad Stan, who we saw earlier in like season 1. He was sort of a throwaway villain in the first season, but he's back.
One of the greats in the Batman Beyond universe.
Obviously. And so he crashes this party, he starts wreaking havoc, blowing stuff up. He has some sort of weird like political reason to do it. I wasn't clear on it. It was something about like he's going to bring down the establishment. I don't know, something like that. But he's blowing crap up, and Batman shows up again. Terry McGinnis. He shows up, and he stops Mad Stan. He saves people. He's doing his job. But then as he defeats Mad Stan is like, you know what? Like, you're going to put me in jail, and I'm just going to get out again. I'm going to do this all over again. And Terry is like, you know what? You're right. And he picks up a barrel, and he beats him to death with the barrel. To death. They literally say it. And then Terry runs off, and Barbara Gordon watched the whole thing happen. And she's like, well, I just watched Batman kill this dude. And they literally say, oh, he's dead. And so now Terry is on the run because he's wanted for murder. And he's hiding. Barbara tries to find him, at home and with Bruce. And then Bruce finally gets in touch with Terry. And Terry's like, I didn't do this. And Bruce is like, well, Barbara saw you do it. She was an eyewitness. Hence the name. And so Terry is trying to clear his name, and they're trying to figure out what the heck happened. And Bruce actually is like, I pulled up the security camera, and there was a glitch when you allegedly killed this guy. And Terry's like, but I didn't do it. You got to believe me. And Bruce is like, you know what? I do believe you. it's too big of a coincidence that the video would glitch out when this allegedly happened. So I believe you. And so he's helping Terry. Terry goes and investigates and tries to see Stan's body at the morgue, which I thought was very dark for Batman Beyond. I'm like, oh, he's in a morgue, like trying to see a corpse, you know? And then as Bruce continues the investigation, he realizes there was someone else there. And so eventually Terry kind of gets cornered by the cops. There's a big chase, and Bruce is like, no, turn on such and such setting, look behind Barbara, and Spellbinder, that old so-and-so is back, and he's invisible, and he created an illusion for Barbara, which is what framed Terry. So Terry was telling the truth, and Spellbinder was the one who was making this happen. And so he even says, oh, you were so quick to believe that Batman would do this. It was really easy. And so Mad Stan was not dead. He's in Spellbinder's, like... Because the last time we saw Spellbinder was when he was having those, like... essentially, it was like the illusion addiction for the kids. Where they would pay anything to go into the illusion. And so that's where Mad Stan is. He's not dead. And so Barbara realizes she needs to be a little more trusting of Terry and trust Bruce, realizing that, like, you know what? Like, they know what they're doing. And that is Eyewitness. So, Brendan, what did you think of this one?
After last week, I was dreading. I was absolutely dreading watching another episode. But you know what? This was probably the best one that could have followed the abomination that was last week's episode, because I really liked it. I was a little bit in a bit of a mood when I started watching it, because he screwed up the police sting for a start, and I'm kind of like, Batman, I don't know, like he'd know better. And then when it looked like he was completely screwing up the thingo with Mad Stan, I was just like, is this whole thing going to be about how Terry's a bit of a hothead and still doesn't know the ropes, and he needs to listen to people more, sort of like, the stereotypical story that it was kind of setting up? And then when he in inverted commas killed Mad Stan, I was like, okay, this is doing something different, because A, Batman's not going to kill, and B, the fact that they actually say in a cartoon, yeah, he's dead, when they go out of their way to, what do they call it, the alive sounds or something, where if someone's had fallen from a building or had a severe car accident, they'll always go out of their way so you can hear them moan, so that they're alive. Right. So I was like, okay, something's up here. So I was actually invested. I was, the mystery had me. I didn't know who it was. The scene where Batman has to find the tunnel or something behind the Majestic Theater or something. The whole time I'm just like, Barbara's going to be there, like, because she's going to know, like, because what's the thing, like, he can't hide because Barbara knows everything. So I quite liked that too, how she beat him there. I thought that was a nice story beat. It was actually a pretty solid episode. I thoroughly liked it, which was a very nice surprise, like I said, after last week.
All right, nice. What about you, Devon?
Well, I'm glad to hear that you liked it, Brendan. I grew up with this show, so I definitely look back on it more fondly than you guys who were like adults. I haven't watched every single episode with you guys. I've listened to your reviews, but I've watched a bunch of them, and I like the show. It's not as good as the animated series, but I like it. But I really like this episode. This episode was great. I'm a sucker for some, like older shows that are still like super relevant. I've been watching like the Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra recently, and they're like, they do and say things that you're like, wow, that really, some people today could learn from this. And I feel like this was one of those episodes, because just like we were talking about earlier in this episode of Holy BatCast, everybody is so ready to crucify people. Constantly online, people will like read a headline and be like, ha, that backs up my, my preconceived judgment of you. And Spellbinder says that at the end of this episode. He looks at Barbara and he says, "You were so ready to believe the worst. It was easy."
Mm-hmm.
The whole plot of her just like, I don't like you, so like I'm not even gonna give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm just gonna like attack you and go after you. That really worked for me, as well as like just the mystery of like, all right, what is going on? It had me hooked. And even though we've kind of forgot the name of the Matt Stan character, I really liked him. I liked his whole like down with the establishment, share the money with the proletariat. I thought he was kind of campy and funny, but like, share some of the wealth. I'm down with it. I'm a teacher. I don't make a lot. But my question at the end of it was, I've only, probably watched half of the episodes along with you guys. Why does Barbara hate Terry so much?
She doesn't hate him.
Like, get him?
Yeah, she doesn't hate him, but like she has essentially become the establishment. And so she as the commissioner, there have been episodes where she's gone to Bruce and been like, I've got this. We don't need a Batman, like keep him out of my way. This time I looked the other way, but next time I won't. So it's less about Terry personally and more about like, she's the commissioner. She's like, I'm doing my job. I don't need your help.
Got it. And she did say when Bruce called her, like, I don't take orders from you anymore.
Right.
So I guess maybe she has, something against just the whole vigilante scene, even though she, was a part of it at one point. That makes sense. That was my only question. I was like, why? What did he do to her? What did he do that was so offensive? But yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I did think it was a bit ridiculous, though, the way Spellbinder at the end was like, you were so ready to believe that he did it. It's like, well, it's not like she came across circumstantial evidence that maybe led her to believe that. She literally saw him kill him. Granted, yes, it was a hallucination, but she didn't know that. Like, of course she believed that he did it because she physically saw him do it.
Mm-hmm. Which honestly is what I liked about it. Is like, it's like, oh no, like she of course trusted her own eyes, and so yeah, like it really. It helped create such a cool mystery. So yeah, I'm with you guys. I thought this was a great episode. I loved it. Like, what a great rebound after the last one. So I thought it was awesome. And then, yeah, like when that happened, I was just kind of like, like what's going on here? And I was afraid that, because I don't remember this episode, so I was afraid that it was going to end with Terry waking up and it was all a dream, and it was essentially him being worried that someday he might cross the line. And I was like, no, like, don't do that. It was all a dream cop out.
Too.
Like, don't. Like, because that would have made me really frustrated. Because, like, it's just lazy.
Like an over-the-edge sort of situation.
Exactly.
That's what I thought it might have been going to.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I expected it to be. And so I was like, don't. If you do that, then I'm out. But I love that wasn't the answer. And again, they're using new ways to use the character of Spellbinder, who, we agreed, we don't love his look, but like they keep finding new ways to use his powers, his abilities in different ways. And I think that's cool. Like, I think that is how you build a stronger rogues gallery, is that if the villains aren't one-offs, if they do come back and they are given new stories and new ways to mess with Batman, that's what makes them interesting. And I think that I like that they've done that multiple times now. So I thought it was a great episode. It was great. Like, Bruce was more involved. I loved the element that Bruce did believe Terry immediately, that he was like, yeah, I do believe you and I will help you. So I love that he trusted Terry, because it would have been very easy for them to go the other direction with the story. And I think there was a lot there. And I think even in the end, Terry says something about that, like, well, thank you for believing me. I thought that was really cool.
The moment when you could see that he did decide to believe him too, because he says to Terry, like, Barbara saw you do it, why would she lie? And he's just like, straight away, why would I? Yeah. And that's when Bruce goes, okay, there's something else here. Like, that's the moment. It was, yeah, man, this was a really good episode.
Yeah, I agree. Like, it was really awesome. Like, it was a great mystery. The solution made sense. But yeah, like when he was at the morgue and he was going to pull out the drawer, and I was like, are they really going to show a dead body? Like, and then he's missing. But still, I'm like, having Batman skulking around a morgue for a cartoon is not something you see normally. Although I will say, with the wall of drawers and them going so high that you need a ladder, I'm like, how do you get a body out of that one? Like, that's really...
They got those floating forklift things.
I guess so. But I'm just like, it would be really awkward, like pulling a dead body out of one of those top drawers and then trying to drag it down the ladder. But yeah, I thought it was great. This is a really good one. So yeah, overall thoughts and closing grade. Brendan?
Like I said before, this was a really good episode, which was, I mean, for me, it's a surprise anyway, just because I don't really like the series, but particularly following last week, like this was a really good surprise. So I loved it. Up there as one of the best that I've seen so far. So I'd give it a solid A.
All right, nice. Devon?
Yeah, no, I really liked it. Like I said, I liked the mystery. I liked kind of the relevance. I guess my two like little nitpicks are when we see Mad Stan get killed, you know, in quotation marks, get killed. It was from his point of view and like a close up, which I thought was weird because the hallucination was on Barbara. So that kind of like was a little jarring to me. I don't know if that's like a nitpicky animation thing for me. And then we really didn't learn anything about Spellbinder. He was just kind of in the background. But I'd still say this is like a solid A minus. I really thought this was good.
Yeah, it assumes you already know who Spellbinder is. Because if you don't, you'll just kind of go, huh? Like who is that? So yeah, you've got to already know him for it to make sense. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you guys. I thought it was a great episode. You know, it was great character stuff between Terry and Barbara and Bruce. Like really great character dynamics between them. A really great mystery that you go, how can this be? And then a solution that actually makes sense that doesn't feel like a cop out. So I'm with you. I think it's an A. It's great. I dug it. So all right, well there you go. 3 A's for Eyewitness. Next episode up is called Final Cut. So that's your homework for next time. But before we completely say goodbye, we of course have to check in with you fine folks by cracking open the Wayne Manor mailbox. It's time again for the Wayne Manor mailbox.
You've got mail.
What is a letter for me?
Maybe temporary.
She wrote a letter.
You're one hell of a messenger. This is all, Master Wayne.
All right, first email here is from Michael Murphy. It says, hey guys, what do you think about Crispin Glover from Back to the Future as the Joker? I always thought he would have been amazing. What are your thoughts? Thanks, Michael. What say you, Brendan? Crispin Glover as the Joker.
He's definitely got the look for it. I can totally see it. I think he's probably a little bit old for the role now, if we're talking about the Pattinson Batman universe. But no, he would have been great.
What do you think, Devon?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could see it. I've seen the Back to the Future movies. I know who you're talking about, but I don't really have strong opinions on him either way. But I think you could do it.
Hey, McFly. Oh, man. So I do remember there was like a big fan movement to try and get him cast after Batman Begins. And yeah, I mean, I think he could be an amazing Joker. He's a great actor. He certainly looks the part. You know, he's getting older now, so that's, I think, always an issue. But yeah, I think that especially 15 years ago or something, he would have been amazing. But I don't know. These days, I don't know if that would happen. All right, next message here is from The Dark Knight. Oh, it's Tanishq. It's Tanishq from India who emailed us last time. So because he starts with love all the way from India. Love all the way back to you, Tanishq. So he's following up. Last time he asked a little bit about Zack Snyder and his portrayals of Superman. And I was like, well, it implies that Tanishq does not like Zack Snyder's version of Superman. So he says, I love Man of Steel, but I hate BVS. But I'm happy for people who are excited for Zack Snyder's Justice League. I know a lot of DC fans see WB as the villains because of studio interference, but I disagree. WB was and is the most filmmaker-driven studio in Hollywood. There's a reason that top-tier directors like Nolan, Villeneuve, I don't know if I'm saying that right, Matt Reeves,
Villeneuve, I think it is.
Villeneuve,
Yeah.
Matt Reeves,
I
and
think you're
JJ.
right.
Yeah. Matt Reeves and J.J. Abrams are working for them. What happened with Justice League and Suicide Squad was unfortunate and absolutely wrong. Let's not forget that they didn't interfere with Man of Steel, and I don't even consider BVS studio interference because there's no way in hell that any studio would allow the first live-action DC Trinity movie to be 3 hours and R-rated and cost $250 million. What are your thoughts? Tanish, thank you for... thank you for your clarification and your question. So, I guess the question is really like, is WB still a filmmaker studio? Do we kind of understand what happened, especially with Justice League and Suicide Squad? Let me say is, generally, I think you're right. I think, they do tend to be a very filmmaker-driven studio. That's why Ben Affleck was, when, as a director, he's been making all his movies at WB because they've let him make his movies. And you bring up good points about some of these other directors. Christopher Nolan, we know that WB just lets Nolan do his thing. They let him do it. I think that the reason it got muddy with DC is because it's DC. As I said earlier, kind of their premier franchise, especially once Harry Potter ended. Like, DC is now their number one, I like Fantastic Beasts, but it's no Harry Potter. And so I think that they got in their own way when it came to DC. And yeah, you're right. Like Man of Steel, they thought they had a $1 billion smash and they let it be the movie it was going to be and they didn't interfere with it. And then the reaction shocked them that it was as divisive as it was. And I think that freaked them out. And so, BVS, it seems like they still, yes, it was cut down to 2.5 hours from 3, but I don't think that is an outrageous demand for a movie like that. Like, would I really call that meddling? No, I think that's understandable. But I think the reactions to those two films, Man of Steel and BVS, got the better of them and they freaked out. And that led to the big time tampering with Suicide Squad and Justice League, especially. And so, it slipped them up and they overreacted and they screwed up those movies. And we all know they screwed up those movies. So do I understand their intention of why they wanted to change those? Yes. But did they do too much and get in their own way and end up making it worse? Also, probably. So I guess my point is generally, traditionally, yes, they're a filmmaker studio, but DC, because there is so much money and profit involved, they allowed it to get the better of them. And I think we've talked about in the past is like every movie can't be a course correction. Like, and it just got really messy because of that. So I don't know. Brendan, what do you think?
I honestly can't add anything to what you just said because I agree with you 100%.
Terrific. Devon?
Yeah, you said it very well, Andy. They're not like a malicious studio, but when big money is on the line and you're panicking, things are gonna go wrong.
Yeah.
And I think also too, because they do have direct competition when it comes to the superhero franchise. Like with Harry Potter and stuff, there was no one. I mean, there were people trying to copy them, I guess. With people buying up book properties and everything, but they were trying to play catch up to a very successful franchise, and though they were making divisive movies. So, do I agree with it? No. Do I understand why? Of course, yes, I do.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's like they're trying so hard to be like, don't, try not. You don't have to be Marvel. You don't have to be Marvel. But at the same time, you can't help but go, but man, they're making so much money. They
want Marvel. Yeah.
So it's it's tough. So I don't condone what happened, especially with Suicide Squad and Justice League, but do I understand the chain of events that led to it? Yeah, I do. But I do feel like now we're in a much better, more stable place, at least as far as the movies go. That, hopefully a lot of that is behind us. Famous last words. Famous last words.
You say that, and the last movie was Birds of Prey, so.
Which was a good movie. I like that movie.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't disagree, but. Yeah.
I mean, but even then, they made a $100 million R-rated female superhero movie. that's a big swing, you know. I mean, apparently, yes, there were notes and stuff because Kathy Anna said something to that effect, kind of vaguely. But like, I don't know. It's not like they were playing it safe with Birds of Prey, I guess is my point.
Yeah.
All right, next message is from John. It says, "Hey, fellow Bat Brothers. Thanks for responding to my last email about Val Kilmer's memoir. In response to what you said about siding with Schumacher, I totally agree. My wife and I both read the book, and we came to the conclusion that Kilmer was very open about the fact that he was a very difficult person to work with. I think the fact that he's an introvert plays a lot into that, and that's why he could have never been Batman for a trilogy. But now that he's going to be a part of DC Fandome, what role do you think he'll play? Last question. I started getting back into comics since I started listening to your show. I started revisiting comics that I remember as a kid that I love, like The Dark Knight Returns. Currently, I'm reading Batman Year One that I got as an anniversary present from my wife. Do you have any recommendations for other DC comics I should check out after Year One? I'm open to anything with the Bat family. Thanks so much. I'll be listening. Your Bat Brother, John." Thanks, John. So speaking of Fandome, did you? I didn't see the Val Kilmer thing.
The stuff that I've gone through, I've tried to sort of work out where he may be. Now, admittedly, I haven't clicked on every single panel and feature to get a rundown, so I don't know. Like, it may have been mentioned, I just haven't seen it yet. But based on the stuff that I've clicked on, which is very Batman heavy, obviously, I haven't seen where he'd slot in, so who knows? Yeah,
that's weird. The only thing I can think of is, could he have been the voices behind the Bat? Like, is he one of those?
Maybe?
It's a bit of a stretch, but like, I'm clicking on it just in case, but...
Maybe Keaton's dropped out, and that's going to be the big announcement for the Flash panel. They're actually bringing Kilmer in to be the...
Yeah, there's no names for the voices behind the Bat, but it does seem like it's voice actors. So yeah, that's weird. Unless that's the mystery one, is a little Batman Forever retrospective or something.
Unless, I mean, I don't even want to say it out loud.
Now you got to say it.
Well, the movement that's been happening online, you know, do you think that, I mean, that wouldn't be an announcement, would it? Surely.
Maybe. Who knows? But like, where?
Again,
yeah.
Six months ago, I would have said not a chance. But now we're about to get this, next week a trailer, I'm assuming, for the Snyder Cut of Justice League. So how would you know?
Yeah.
So maybe the to be announced panel is like, and we're getting the Air cut, and we're getting the Schumacher cut, and we're getting all the cuts.
Right. Yeah, because honestly, when it was shown that Val Kilmer was going to participate, I literally thought it was going to be, like Batman Forever, 25 years, a conversation with Val Kilmer, something like that. That's what I expected. But the fact that it's not on there, man, who knows? Like, yeah, like maybe it is just one of these Batman panels that he'll just be on. Maybe they will announce that they're going to release the extended cut of Batman Forever. Like, who knows? But it'll be interesting to see. And then as for comics to recommend to John here, any thoughts, Brendan?
I mean, my answer's always going to be check out the Batman Adventures run. If you like Batman and you like Batman the Animated Series, that's my go-to for any comic questions. Just read them. I mean, there's the usual stuff like your Long Halloweens and Dark Victory. I quite like the Paul Dini detective run as well. The stuff that kind of led up to Batman Under the Hood as well, the Judd Winnick Batman stuff, I liked, because that's what was happening when I got back into comics. But I mean, there's so much stuff that there's no wrong answer, really.
I mean, that I think is accurate. What do you think, Devon?
So my favorite Batman comics would probably be The Long Halloween, Dark Victory, Court of Owls. Yeah, he said he just read Year One, right? So I don't know, Dark Knight Returns. There are so many. I don't know what he's read and what he hasn't, but those would be my favorite, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that if you're trying to dive into like iconic stories, that's what you do. Is you do those, you know?
Yeah.
Like
Hush,
what?
stuff like
Hush, The Long Halloween, The Killing Joke. Yeah, do those. You know, like especially if you've never read them. Yeah, help with all that. If you're looking for more of like a monthly thing, like the current James Tynion run of Batman is awesome. I would highly recommend that. I also think like for me, like what I've been doing on DC Universe is like what is stuff that I either have nostalgia for, or B, I've always meant to read but never got around to it. So like I just started reading Superman Birthright because it's a famous story that I've heard about for years now, but I've never actually read. And I'm like, oh, it's on DC Universe. I'll read that finally. And at the same time, I'm like, you know what? I want to go back and read the Batman run from when I got into comics, like starting in 1993 or so, and like just read those again. You know, that'll be fun. It'll be like a trip back in time. So I think all those are great. But yeah, like who's your favorite Batman character or favorite Bat family? If it's Batman himself, then yeah, like go into an era of Batman comics you're unfamiliar with and read those. If it's Batgirl, you know, read some of the solo Batgirl stuff. If it's Nightwing, read some of those. I just read the first Nightwing miniseries on DC Universe because I had never read it. And it was really fun. And it was like so of the moment because it's when he had like the super long ponytail and everything. And it was hilarious. I think I tweeted a photo from it where he's got the super long Fabio hair and he's like wearing this like polka dot multicolored shirt. And I'm like, oh my God, it's like so 1993 or whatever it is. It's amazing. So yeah, that's what I would say. Like if there's iconic books you want to read those. And it's really easy to Google of like top Batman stories and you'll find them all. But if you want something else, pick your favorite Batman character and find the solo run and start reading those. All right, next message is from Whistle Red. It says, hey, Bat family, would Joaquin Phoenix have been a good Robin for Batman 89 and Batman Returns? It was the same year that he starred in Parenthood with Steve Martin. Also, Andy and Brendan, what is your favorite song on the Santa Claus the Movie soundtrack? Okay, so what do you think? Joaquin Phoenix in his youth as a Robin. Brendan?
To be honest, I haven't really ever seen much of his work as a kid, but he's a hell of a good actor. So if he was a great actor back then, like he is now, yeah, sure. Like I'd have no problem with that whatsoever.
What do you think, Devon?
Yeah, I could definitely like see it. Like if you look at pictures of him as a kid, like that definitely looks like a Robin. And yeah, he's a fantastic actor. So I'd be down to see it.
All right. Yeah, it's weird as I think, like, I saw him as a child actor. I saw him in Parenthood. I saw him in Space Camp. I don't think he looked like Robin. Like, he was a good actor, so, like, maybe, you know, they could have changed his appearance enough. But when I picture him back then, I'm like, I just can't see it. But doesn't mean it couldn't have worked. Sure, why not? And then Santa Claus the Movie soundtrack. Because guess what, Brendan?
What?
After August 12th, the holiday season begins. I mean, it's Halloween first.
Okay.
But, you know, we're starting to gear up for all of that, which means, yeah, Santa Claus the Movie isn't far off. So, what is your favorite song on the soundtrack?
I mean, for me, it's got to be It's Christmas All Over the World. That goes without saying. If we're talking score-wise, I don't know the names of the tracks, so I do apologise.
Oh, I thought you were a fan. That's weird.
I don't have them off the top of my head, no. But I love the music where it's essentially, you know, the montage of the workshop where it sort of ends right before the season's greetings scene with the Northern Star and everything. So I love
making toys. No. That one?
Yes, that one. I really, really like that. That's awesome.
That is called Making Toys.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I do like the song sort of when he does like his first flight, and it sort of cuts it, like it weaves in traditional Christmas carols as well to the score.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool as well.
Yeah. Good answers all, Brendan.
Thank you.
Good answers. Because, I mean, yeah, there's only one real song, and that's Christmas All Over the World, which I freaking love.
So good.
And whenever it comes on my Christmas playlist, I get really, really happy, and then I take a picture of it and I send it to Brendan.
Same here. I think, was it last year or the year before, I was driving up to Toowoomba actually after work on Christmas Eve. And I had my Christmas playlist on and it came on. So I filmed myself like singing along on the highway.
Yes. Oh my God. The things you guys miss out on. That happened just between Brendan and myself. So yeah, I love that song. I look forward to listening to it every year. And then yeah, as far as the score goes, I was going to say essentially the first flight music. The music where like Burgess Meredith comes out and he's giving his little speech is beautiful. And then it goes into Santa's first flight and then the big montage of Santa like throughout the ages delivering presence is just magical. Like that whole score I love, but yeah, that's probably my favorite track. Brendan, did I send you that score? I can't remember.
I think so, maybe. Potentially.
It's
I'll have
so
to
good.
double check. If you did, honestly, I think it would be on my old iPod.
Okay.
But yeah, maybe wouldn't hurt to send it again later in the year.
Okay, good to know. Devin, sorry, I just assumed that only me and Brendan care about Santa Claus the movie, but do you have any thoughts about this?
I have never seen this movie. I knew there would be at least one Wayne Manor mailbox question that I had no input on.
Yeah, it's okay. You should watch it this Christmas and let us know what you think because it's magical.
It's so good. Oh my God.
I look forward to it every year. All right, and this year, guess what, Brendan? We have the comics adaptations.
Yes. We do.
Because I don't know if I told you, like I got you one for Christmas.
I didn't know you got yourself one.
And then like a couple months later, I think I was like, I bought that for Brendan. I should get myself one. So I did.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Oh, I can't wait. And I'll be able to watch it in the new house. It's going to be awesome.
Magical. All right. Sorry, we're just taking this break to get excited for Christmas. Christmas is coming, guys. Santa's coming. Okay. Next message is from James McGee. It says, hey, I was wondering what your thoughts are on the upcoming DC animated movie Death in the Family, where you choose the fate of the story. I'm a big fan of the Red Hood movie, and I know you are too. Keep doing what you're doing. Long live the BatCast. Stay safe, James. Thank you, James. I love it when we get emails that we've already answered.
Yeah.
It's so nice. Frees up so much time, but I still wanted to read it because he was nice enough to write it. All right. So, anything to add? I think we covered it before.
I think we covered it. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, James. Next message is from our old pal, Eric Carter. Hey, Eric. He says, hey, it's been a while. I hope you're doing well. The show is wonderful as always. And Eric, yes, he's a friend of BatCast. He's been on our show. And I feel like because he did like one episode of our show, our friend Philip Barker like stole him and like kidnapped him and like made him a permanent co-host on his show, Superhero Stress. So my point is, Devin, you just don't know what a guest spot on BatCast could do for you.
All the agents are going to be out there.
I know, like all these talent, what are they called? Scouts, yes. All these podcast talent scouts are like, hey, that guy can put sentences together. I'm going to steal him. So that's what happened to Eric. Eric did our show, and then he was like, all right, well, that was nice. And then the next day, he was abducted from his home, thrown into the trunk of a car, and now he is chained up in a basement recording Superhero Stress. So dreams come true is my point.
But if he's with Philip, at least he's got a shitload of monitors he can look at while he's there.
Right. That's the important thing. Anyway, sorry. So here's what he says. The show is wonderful as always. Question. I know none of you are thrilled about the new Batsuit or Batmobile for the Batman. It's not my favorite, but I like it. More than anything, I'm excited for the story that Matt Reeves is going to tell. It got me thinking, is there any Batman stories that are really good to great, but you can't get into them because of the aesthetic? For example, Batman Kings of Fear is excellent, but the Kelly Jones art takes me out of it completely. Sorry, Jamie. Thanks for continuing to produce an amazing podcast. Keep the signal lit and pointed skyward. Sorry for the long message. Your Bat brother, Eric Carter. Thanks, Eric. So this is an interesting question. So is there a great Batman story, but like it's held back because you're not into the art style? Brendan?
Yeah, straight off, well, no pun intended, straight off the bat. The first one that comes to mind is Arkham Asylum.
I was going to say that too, yeah.
It's supposed to be fantastic, And back when I used to visit the comic book shop like regularly, I would often pick it up and think, oh, do I pull the trigger? And I'd start looking at it and like thumbing through it, and I can't. Like I just know I would really dislike it. I don't even know if I'd be able to follow it properly just because of that weird erratic art style. It's not for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was gonna say that. I have read it. I do own it. I like it, but I don't love it. And the reason I don't love it is because, yeah, the art style is so crazy. It's so out there. Devon, any thoughts?
Actually, the first thing that came to mind was in the, I think it was the Robin 80th special, that Stephanie Brown, I don't know, segment. That one, like, the story wasn't bad, but the art style was weird. And then more Batman related. It took me a while to get into The Dark Knight Returns. I'm pretty sure that's the one that I'm thinking of. The art style on that was kind of weird, but eventually I just got into it and then I loved it. So you get used to it when it's a good story.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yes, there have been a lot of occasions of this over the years of like, oh man, I really like this story. I just wish the art was more my style. One example, like this was a few years ago, but a few years ago there was a Batman Superman monthly, and I really wanted to like it, but the art.
I know the one you mean. Yes.
Yeah, but the art didn't work for me. I want to say it was Jay Lee, and I've just never. Jay Lee's work is, you're an artist, man, do your thing, but it's just not going to work for everybody, and for me, it's not my thing, and so I just wasn't able to get into the book because of the art, the way that he drew them.
One that I will get me shot, but who's it hasn't, not to the point of not being able to enjoy the stories, but I'm not a big fan of the Greg Capullo stuff.
Really?
Yeah, and everyone seems to love it, and I'm just
I really like it.
A lot of the characters, like male characters and stuff, they kind of look the same. There's a bit of a sameness to it. I don't know. It's, again, look, art is subjective, and I know a lot of people love it, but for me, it didn't work. But see, I like the Dustin Nguyen stuff as well, and I know that he can be a bit subjective too. But menus at restaurants.
Yeah. Interesting. But I guess, yeah, the greater answer is yes. I mean, I think even when we did the Long Halloween, I talked about like that's not, the Tim Sale art is not my favorite art style. And so for the Long Halloween, like I just kind of accept it and go with it, but it's not my favorite look for any of those characters. So yeah, it's just some works for some people better than others.
Yeah.
All right, one last email here, and then we'll get out of here. This is from Jacob. It says, hey guys, watch the Robot Chicken DC Comics special, Superman's Kiss, on YouTube. I listened to your Superman 2 episode, and you talked about Superman using his kiss more often, and this may explain it. So I feel like someone else mentioned that of Robot Chicken did something, and I don't really remember it, but now I'll look it up on YouTube. But he says, bringing it back to Batman, is there a scene in comics, movies, TV, or animation that gave you a shock factor, whether it was something unexpected, amazing, or even cringeworthy? My shock factor was the end of No Man's Land with the Joker and Sarah Essen. It was so insane. Sorry about the long email. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for the great content, Jacob. Thanks, Jacob. First of all, yep, I will watch the Robot Chicken thing. Like I said, I have a vague recollection, but
I've got the 2 Robot Chicken DC specials on DVD, and I haven't watched them in years. But it is triggering a memory that
they did it. They thought of it. Okay, so something in Batman media, doesn't matter what, that shocked you in one way or the other. Brendan?
Oh, man. I'm struggling to think of one, to be honest. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe come back to me, or I'm not even able to think of an answer, but off the top of my head, I can't think of one.
All right, that's okay. Devon, any thoughts?
Yeah, this is a really good question, but it is a really hard one just to think of off the top of your head. I guess the closest that I can come up with is I read Azzarello's that Joker book, and I was just shocked at how dark some of it got. And I remember you guys reviewed that on the podcast, I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's one specific scene with like Joker and the guy's girlfriend in the car that I was like, wow.
Yeah.
It was a kind of hidden
I remember
detail.
that.
It was kind of a hidden detail, but I saw it and I was like, wow, that is really, really dark. So I guess that's what I got.
Okay, I thought of two off the top of my head because, I would need time to think about it. But the first one, because it's something that the first time I saw it, it so unnerved me, and it still does. I mean, not as much because now I expect it, but it's the scene in The Dark Knight of the video of the Joker with the imposter Batman.
Oh, yeah.
That's really good.
Good one, yeah.
That is terrifying, and I can't handle it. So, yeah, when that happened the first time in the theater, I was like, oh my God. Like, I was just kind of out of breath because it was so scary. And still, I watch it and get unnerved. And the other one, it's more Batman adjacent, but there is a whole sequence in Identity Crisis that involves Tim Drake and his father. And I held my breath the entire time reading it because it was also terrifying. So those are the two that I could think of.
I've thought of two. One, because of what you said about The Dark Knight, made me think. If we're saying shock factor, does a jump scare count? Because
Sure.
the scene where the mayor is looking out the window and the Batman, like the fake Batman, comes down with the noose and smashes against the glass, jumped like crazy the first time I saw the movie, and every time I watch it, I know it's coming, and it's still it still gives you that little when it happens. So there's that, and also people might think I'm crazy for this one, but Dark Knight Rises, when the first big fight with Bane, where he picked him up, and I had that oh shit, they're gonna do it, because I mean, yes, in the comics that's what he was known for, but there'd been so many Bane stories after that, and I didn't expect them really to go the Nightfall route. In hindsight, I totally should have. It was kind of like with Doomsday being in BVS, where I was like, oh shit, they're gonna kill him. Like, Brendan, of course they are. It's fucking Doomsday. Like, what else do you do with that character? But yeah, that was one where I was genuinely taken by surprise. It was like, Christ, they're actually gonna break his back. I did not expect that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Cool. All right. Well, there you go. There's some answers for you. But that's where we're going to close up the Wayne Manor mailbox. Thank you guys for writing in as always. Always good to hear from you. If you've got a question for the Wayne Manor mailbox, you can send those to Holy BatCast at rf4rm.com. That's where we're going to wrap up this episode. It's funny. Every time we do a news episode, I'm like, oh, it's going to be a short one. Ha. Yeah. Little did we know, but that's okay. Thanks for joining us, and we'll wrap this baby up. Devon, it was a pleasure having you, and again, thank you for somewhat short notice jumping in, and it was a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is something I've always wanted to do. I never thought I would get the chance, but it was really fun. I had a great time.
Awesome. Well, we were glad to have you. Thank you so much. If are you on Twitter, you can tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, my social media presence is pretty low key. As a teacher, you kind of have to play it down low. But I mean, I made one a few months ago, basically just to follow you guys, and I've replied to some of your stuff. My Twitter handle was my name and a bunch of numbers, but I changed it 2 weeks ago and actually started to try and post stuff. It's DEV_ON1219. It's a play on my name, Devon, because that's what every teacher told me my name was until I was 20. Dev
Wait,
on, and then 1219.
Was I supposed to be saying Devon this whole time?
No, my name is not Devon.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh shit, did I? Sorry.
No, literally every first day of school, consistently for 12 years. Devon? No, it's Devon. They're like, you sure? I'm like, I'm pretty sure.
Are you sure? I'm pretty sure.
Pretty sure.
I know.
Yeah, but it just Devon is always taken, but Dev_on is never taken online. So Devon 1219. There you go.
Well, awesome. There you go. Give Devon a follow. And yeah, it was really fun. Brendan, as always, thanks for joining and being, as you say, the third wheel to our BatCast tricycle.
Oh, anytime, my friend. Yeah, thank you again. This was a fun one. It was nice to cover, some serious stuff, but then really get into the bones of fandom, which we're a week away from. So that's exciting. But of course, you can find me on Twitter at Loey007 and my podcast at NightlightPod on Twitter. But I just quickly want to point out that Tuesday this week was a special day for one of the people on this podcast. It was your birthday, sir.
Yeah.
So happy birthday for a couple of days ago. I know that your good lady Catherine took care of you and sent a call out to all your close friends and family to send in a little video, and she edited together a little clip, which, by the way, I wanted to point out, there's a little nod to Santa Claus the movie in there.
Yeah.
I did ask the question because we saw a little teaser of the intro when she was still when she was still putting it together, and I was like, is there going to be any Santa Claus the movie in there? And she was like, look, if I can get it in, I'll get it in. And she did. So that was really funny when I saw a little nod to Santa Claus the movie in there. And she also got you an awesome Batman statue, which I saw. So happy birthday for the other day on behalf of all the Holy BatCast team and listeners.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, it was, the video was a total surprise. I had no idea. And it was the probably one of the most thoughtful gifts I've ever received in my 42 years of being alive. Yeah, it was just the best gift I could have ever asked for. And yeah, like, you were in there, Jamie was in there, and so many other amazing friends and family were all in there. And yeah, Catherine did an amazing job of putting it together. And yeah, she did so good of, like, not only editing together all these very sweet messages from people I love, but, like, yeah, interspersing clips of my favorite movies and music and stuff. And it was just, yeah, it was really awesome.
And she's talented. Like, Jess was like, I want her to make me a birthday video, and she doesn't even know me.
Yeah. Again, like, I did not expect it, and I had a hard time holding it together, if I'm being honest, when it started, because it was just so thoughtful and just, yeah, made my whole day. So that was all I needed. The statue was just a bonus. I didn't even need the statue. I was good. But I got both. So I'm not mad at it. But it was just, yeah, like the video was just amazing. So thank you. Yeah, thank you for being a part of it, and Jamie, and again, so many other great people. It was a wonderful thing. And then, yeah, like, I got another really nice surprise from old friend Thomas J. Wagner, who he is primarily a Superman fan, but also a Batman fan. And so he managed to do one of those cameos with Kevin Conroy. So I got a video from Kevin Conroy for my birthday, thanks to my pal Thomas, and that was also very sweet.
Awesome.
So yeah, it was really cool. And so I was actually thinking of, like, I'm going to put the audio of that at the end of the episode. So guys, stay tuned at the end of this episode, because it's Kevin Conroy. Like, it's the voice of Batman, and it's great to...
Why are you telling me this now? How did I not already know this?
It's been a very busy week. Like, you don't understand. Like, I work, I eat, and I sleep. It's out of control. But no, it was really awesome. And so, yeah, I thought, because it was so cool, and he talks about Batman, that I will just, I'm going to put that audio at the end. So if you guys are interested to hear Kevin Conroy wish me a happy birthday, but he also then he gets a little philosophical about Batman, which is kind of fun. So yeah, stay tuned at the end of this episode. I'm going to put it at the end, and it was also a very nice surprise. So yeah, huge thank you to everybody who made my birthday very special this year, especially Catherine, who really went above and beyond. Now the pressure's on for her birthday again. Man, I don't know how I'll ever live up to it. I don't think I will. So I don't think that's gonna happen. But I'll do what I can. But yeah, thanks Brendan, and thank you Thomas, and thank you Kevin Conroy. More a little extra treat at the end of this episode. But we need to wrap it up.
If it wasn't long enough, stick around till the
Yeah.
very end.
Just in case, just because I mean, there might have been people who were like, oh, they're wrapping up and they already turned it off. They haven't even heard any of this. So who knows? But we do got to be done. So let's wrap it up. Thank you, Devon. Thank you, Brendan.
Yeah,
thank you. All you out there in internet land for listening to us talk about Batman and all this other crap. We do appreciate you joining us. Thank you for downloading the show. Please do subscribe so you never miss an episode. Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. And as Michael Keaton's Batman says, I want you to tell all your friends about me. Visit holybatcast.com. Find Holy BatCast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Just search for Holy BatCast. Again, if you've got a message for the Wayne Manor mailbox, you can send that to holybatcast@rf4rm.com. So, on behalf of Brendan and Devon, I've been Andy. That'll do it. We'll see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Holy BatCast is brought to you by real fans for real movies. Remember, the thoughts and opinions shared by the participants are theirs and theirs alone, and do not represent the companies or organizations they happen to work for.
Happy birthday, Andy. This is Batman, calling from Wayne Manor. Your friend Thomas Wagner wanted me to send you this shout out, so this is just for you. I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman. And remember, Andy, it's not who you are underneath. It's what you do that defines you. Okay, now this is Kevin. Happy birthday. And congratulations on your podcast, Holy BatCast. The fun thing for me about doing this role has been this interaction that I get to have with the audience, because the Batman audience, as you know, is incredible. They're so passionate about the character. And my theory about why that is true is because he's the only superhero who isn't a superhero. He doesn't have any superpowers. He can't fly, he can't see through walls, he can't bend metal. He's a human being, he's a man, he's like you and me. In fact, he's a very flawed man, and he's aware of his flaws. But we're all aware of his flaws. It's like the audience is in on the joke, you know? And it makes him that much more appealing, because we're all flawed. So we can relate to him. Because all he has is his physical strength and his intellect to serve him on his mission. And his mission is to rid the world of evil, to leave it a better place. It's such a noble cause. That's what we love about him. And also his tenacity. He never gives up, no matter what life throws at him. He keeps coming back. And Andy, those are qualities we can all aspire to, because you don't have to have superpowers to want to give to your family, your friends, your community, to leave the world a better place. You don't have to be a superhero to be tenacious in your goals in life. All you have to do is care enough to try. And the world needs us right now to try more than ever, because there is so much going on right now. There is so much crisis in the world. It's crazy, isn't it? But we need each other, because we're all we have. Because life is hard for everybody. Everybody gets the crap beaten out of them by life sooner or later. Everyone has challenges, everyone has disappointments, everyone makes mistakes, because we're human. I don't care how rich and powerful someone is. They've made mistakes in their life. They don't brag about it, but you know they have, because they're human. And at those moments, you realize really quickly what's important. And what's important is not how much money you have, or how powerful you are, or what kind of job you have, because those things evaporate. As quickly as they appear, they disappear. What's important is the people in your life, the love in your life, the friends who believe in you, who see you. That's what's important. A friend like Thomas. That's what it's about. So keep nurturing those friendships in your life. Life can be so distracting, can it? It can be confusing, it can be distracting. You get so wrapped up in the day-to-day drama of life that we sometimes neglect our friends. Nurture those friendships. That's what it's about. So have a wonderful birthday. Thomas also asked me how I thought Batman would take down a T-Rex. I have no idea. I know that if I saw a T-Rex coming at me, I would run so fast the other way. Those things are terrifying. Jurassic Park was terrifying. I'm sorry. Those raptors? Oh my God. Who wants to be lizard food? Not me. So have a great birthday. And remember, Batman has always got your back.